As the Indians host the Twins, who are looking to continue to climb the standings in the AL Central. Time to get you out to Progressive Field.
Twins second baseman Brian Dozier has been swinging a powerful bat of late, and his teammates hope that continues as they're trying to even a series against their divisional foe, the Cleveland Indians. Jason Kipnis and the rest of the tribe have other things in mind tonight, and they continue to roll here at home. And we welcome you to Baseball Night in America on Fox, a beautiful summer night in Cleveland, Ohio. The Twins and the Indians. Cleveland at 2 games over 500, winning the opener here last night, only 3 behind Detroit. And Minnesota 4 under, but just 6 behind the Tigers in the Central. And hi again, everybody, alongside the Hall of Famer, Bert Blyleven. I'm Tom Brenneman, welcoming you to Baseball on Fox. Bert, you see these Twins play every single day. They've had a very good week and starting to show some signs of picking it up offensively.
Yeah, one guy that's really been picking it up, Tom, is Brian Dozier. 4 home runs over his last 5 ball games, something that the Twins need, second and the last in home runs.
Of course, normally with the Twins, you're thinking Mauer, Morneau, and hoping to get some help from some other guys in this lineup. Meanwhile, for Cleveland, perhaps a surprise to many teams at 2 games over. If they're going to hang in there, Bert, it seems like they need more good starts from a young man getting the ball tonight, Corey Kluber.
Yeah, Corey Kluber is coming off 2 very good starts. 8 innings in both starts, pitched 16 innings, only 1 run allowed. They'd like to see if he can repeat that here against the Twins.
Well, both of these teams are hoping to hang in the Central Division race for a while, the Twins and the Indians. Mauer and Morneau, so many outstanding seasons in Minnesota, and hoping they can spark this team tonight. The Tribe coming in on a roll. They're great at home. First pitch is next. Beautiful early summer night in Cleveland, Ohio. 89 degrees, but humidity not all that bad, and a perfect night for baseball with the Minnesota Twins in town taking on the Cleveland Indians. A short while ago, the Cleveland Indians conducting their Hall of Fame induction over this weekend And boy, two household names in these parts and really all over baseball. John Hart, longtime general manager, and one of the players he traded for was here for 7 years, a three-time All-Star, Carlos Baerga.
What an honor for these two young men to join, a Hall of Fame. It's outstanding. Saw Mike Hargrove there, Andre Thornton, Sandy Alomar Jr. Pretty nice class here in Cleveland. A lot of history. Sam McDowell was here. Kenny Lofton.
Well, they had some great teams during that run in the mid-1990s. And you look at the numbers for Baerga and how good of a 4-year run he had and where he ranked among all major league second basemen in many, many offensive categories. Today inducted to the Indians Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Carlos Baerga. And for John Hart, are you surprised he's not made one more run at it, maybe as a general manager?
No, he's doing such a good job on TV. I don't know if he wants to get back into that tough situation, but he was a great general manager, and maybe he will be again one day.
Ron Gardenhire, the skipper of these Minnesota Twins, who come in at 33 up, 37 down. Their lineup presented by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss. They put Cleve Thomas back in a leadoff spot in center. Joe Mauer in the 2-hole. Ryan Dome at the DH. Justin Morneau at first. Trevor Plouffe is at third. Oswaldo Arcia, the start in left field. Chris Parmalee in right. Brian Dozier swinging the bat so well, as Bert told you a moment ago, dropped to the 8th spot. And Pedro Florimon is a shortstop batting ninth. Our opening pitch brought to you by Budweiser. From May to July, buying Budweiser benefits military families.
That'll be right-handed pitcher.
Kluber.
Corey Kluber on the mound, making his 11th start, his second against the Twins. The Twins ended up defeating him here in Cleveland back in the early part of May. He lost 4-2 to Mike Pelfrey. The scouting report on Corey Kluber: got to trust that fastball. That's the bottom one right there. That's when he fell in love with a little cutter. Now he's throwing the fastball. 2 straight solid outings. His last outing, he won for the first time here at Progressive Field. Take a look at some of the highlights of Kluber. That's the fastball right there. Has some movement on it. He has 6 double plays turned behind him. This is his 11th start. Also mixes in a very good slider, curveball, and a changeup.
And he wasn't facing a couple of stiffs his last 2 times out against the Texas Rangers 2 starts ago. That was down in Arlington. 8 innings, 6 hits, 1 run.
Well, both these guys here this afternoon, Kluber and Walters, are kind of still getting their feet wet, even though they're a little bit older. Kluber 27 years old, Walters 28. They're only making for Kluber only his 23rd major league start. For Walters, only his 24th. So they're trying to establish themselves here at the major league level.
So Kluber to face Cleve Thomas, the center fielder, and a pitch is taken high, says home plate umpire John Hirschbeck, and we are underway. Thomas only playing in his 15th game this year, .267 batter, a home run and 4 runs batted in, and it's 2-0.
Yeah, Thomas started down in AAA Rochester, got called up, was hitting pretty well down there. They've tried to shorten his swing up a little bit. A guy that strikes out a lot, they're trying to shorten up that swing, just make contact. There's that good running fastball by Kluber as he gets strike 1 against Thomas.
That leadoff spot has been a huge void in this Minnesota lineup, a team that struggles as it is at times offensively, but especially at the top of the order, and Bert, as you know, at the very bottom of the order.
Yeah, we had a chance to sit down with Ron Gardenhire and talk about that. You know, he would like to, Dozier over the last 3 ball games hit a home run each game, but that number 1 spot, combined about 5 or 6 players hitting 181. That's not going to cut it. And he said Joe Mauer, who's on deck, he'd like to hit him 3rd, but he says, I'm having a tough time getting guys on base. Why would I bat Joe Mauer 3rd when, the 1-2 hitters can't get on if Joe Mauer's not hitting 2nd?
Fouled off out of play, 3-2 on Thomas. You saw Mauer up next, and then Doman, the DH, in front of Morneau. Those are some of the numbers out of that Minnesota leadoff spot in the batting order.
Oh, I lied. It's 182. I said 181. Sorry.
Pretty good at bat here to begin the game.
Well, Thomas getting that opportunity, and he's done a pretty good job as a leadoff hitter. He's hitting .308, 4 hits and 13 at-bats. Not a lot of at-bats in the leadoff spot.
Of course, he is playing in place of the injured Aaron Hicks out in center field. Josh Willingham also not in the lineup tonight. That was the 8th pitch of this at-bat, and it's still alive for Cleve Thomas. Kluber, a native Texan. Went to Coppell High School in Texas, graduated in 2004, played 3 years collegiately at Stetson University in Florida. And a 3-2 on the way once more, and again fouled away. There'll be a 9th pitch in this at bat.
Yeah, Kluber started the season in the AAA and then called up, made a couple relief appearances, sent back down, and then came up toward the latter part of April, now in that starting rotation.
Terry Francona in his first year as skipper here in Cleveland, and that at bat ends successfully for Cleve Thomas. He drops it into center field for a leadoff base hit. Let's take a look at the Indians defensively, brought to you by Scott's, the official lawn care company of Major League Baseball. Virtually 3 center fielders play the outfield with Brantley, Bourne, and Stubbs, so they're really good out there. They just called up Chisenhall to play third. Aviles continues to play and play well in the absence of Asdrubal Cabrera.
Yeah, the Indians have committed 43 errors this year. Twins have committed 31.
Now Mauer checks in at .328, 7 home runs, 23 batted in. High into deep right center field, and that baby will fly way out of here. 2-0 Minnesota through the first 2 batters in their lineup.
Boy, that's unusual right there, because a lot of times Joe Mauer will take 2, 3, 4 pitches, but right here he jumps on that first fastball from Kluber and hitting his 8th home run and giving the Twins an early 2-0 lead. Looked like a high fastball that Joe hit into right center field, and that's exactly what it was. Good solid swing by Mauer. The Twins take the early lead.
Well, Kluber has now given up more runs after 2 batters than he had allowed over his last 16 innings against the Rangers and the Washington Nationals.
That's why you got to love this game. You know, you can be on a high and then one pitch, boom, you're back down to earth again.
This is an area where Minnesota needs to get things turned around. Falling behind early. Nice backhanded pickup by Aviles, and his throw is in time to get Doman. Nice play by the Cleveland shortstop.
Boy, what a nice play by Aviles right there, taking the place of Asdrubal Cabrera, who's on a disabled list with a quad injury, shading Doman up the middle. He has to go way to his right, and that off-balance throw right on the mark to Reynolds at first base.
So now Justin Morneau, homered earlier in the week, went 189 plate appearances without a home run, but he is driving in runs. He's got 42 RBIs despite just the 3 home runs and carries a .284 average.
Yeah, a lot of people saying, where's the power, Justin Morneau? But as you mentioned, Tom, he is driving in runs, leading the Twins with the 42 runs batted in. And the average at almost .290.
Got that one off the end of the bat, popped up, and Aviles will backpedal to short center, and they're 2 away. Now the third baseman, Trevor Plouffe, converted shortstop, has missed time twice this year. You may remember he had a concussion earlier in the season after a collision with Atlanta second baseman Dan Uggla. Ugla's knee hitting Plouffe in the head. So he had a sit-out time there and then injured his calf for a 2nd straight year.
Yeah, they were ready to activate him in late May, and then he was warming up to get ready for the ball game and then injured his calf, and they put him back on a disabled list. Activated on June 15th.
At his first game back, he hit a home run, had 3 hits, knocked in 3 runs.
On his birthday.
It's a good day.
His 27th birthday, yeah. I said on that day he should have birthdays every day. Every day's your birthday. It is mine.
Back up through the middle. Avila's called off the second baseman. One hop throw, and Reynolds can't handle it. That'll more than likely be an infield hit, and it is.
A high chopper over the mound. You see Kipnis getting out of the way, and then the low throw. Tough throw for a first baseman to try to dig out. And Reynolds knocked it down but kept it in front of him.
Of course, Bird Blyleven, you spent time with both of these franchises, obviously the Minnesota Twins, in a handful of years right here in Cleveland.
Yeah, 5 years here in Cleveland. Not at this ballpark, not at Progressive Field. We were down by the lake.
Oh, yeah, well, Cleveland Municipal Stadium. Did they have the dog pound in those games for baseball games?
No, not for baseball. They just love their Browns.
2 down for Arcia. First pitch breaking ball in there, strike one. Young fella's having a pretty good first year.
Yeah, he really is. Where he ranks as far as American League rookies, on base percentage, very good. Slugging percentage, outstanding. In RBI, second to Aaron Hicks, who's on a disabled list.
On the ground down to third, and Chisenhall will throw out Arcia. But a good start for Minnesota. A leadoff single by Thomas, and Mauer flexing his muscles. A 2-run home run. Indians coming to bat down a fair. Francona starting lineup tonight for the Indians, brought to you by Taco Bell. Sometimes you gotta live Moss. Born in center, Avila's at short. Jason Kipnis, reigning National League or American League Player of the Week, is at second. Michael Brantley in left. Carlos Santana, Mark Reynolds in the middle. Jason Giambi, the DH. Lonnie Chisenhall in third. Drew Stubbs is in right, and they're facing P.J. Walters, making his 6th start of the year for the Twins.
Yeah, P.J. Walters has come up and has done a very good job. 3 of his 5 starts has been able to pitch 6 or more innings and give up 3 runs or less. He has really helped strengthen the rotation. Right-handers have given him more of a tough time than left-handed hitters, and a guy that must change speeds. Not an overpowering fastball, pretty good breaking ball, very good changeup. He has to utilize his defense.
Walters allowed a pair of 2-run home runs in his last start, a loss to the Tigers. That was on Sunday. And that had ended a string of 7 consecutive starts without a home run allowed by a Minnesota starter.
Yeah, one thing that the Twins have been able to do is keep the ball in the ballpark. They've done a very good job of that. The whole staff, not only the starters, but also the bullpen.
Michael Bourne signed at the end of February as a free agent. Checks in at 294, 2 home runs, 11 batted in. Of course, his game is with his legs. 11 stolen bases, and they figure that total will swell as this season moves on.
Yeah, pretty good start for Bourne, too. A guy that's always been in the National League coming to the American League for the first time and still hitting 294. A lot of times you see guys coming over, it's a little struggle because they have not seen a lot of the pitchers in the American League.
This guy's been a good player. He's put up some pretty impressive numbers over the last 4 seasons. His average over there is 4 years, 280. On base percentage around 35%.
Yeah, as a pitcher going into the ballgame, this is a guy you want to keep off the bases, and there's a leadoff walk. So the speedy Bourne at first base.
Minnesota defensively brought to you by Scott's, the official lawn care company of Major League Baseball. Bert, the defense for Minnesota this year.
Yeah, pretty good defense behind a pitching staff, a starting staff that doesn't get a lot of strikeouts. So one thing that Ron Gardenhire's really tried to work on is Mauer behind the plate, Florimone at short, Dozier at second, very good up the middle, and then it's usually Hicks out in center, but now it's Clete Thomas, does a good job of covering a lot of ground.
Here's Avila, as we mentioned, filling in for Asdrubal Cabrera, and done a good job in the field and a good job at the plate. 273 batters, 4 home runs, 23 runs batted in. Terry Francona knew him from when Avila's played in Boston, and has been a nice, very quiet pickup.
I'll tell you what, I like this player. I liked him when he first came up with the Kansas City Royals in 2008. He's just a steady player. He's not flashy. He's not going to drive the ball all over the ballpark, but pretty good defensive player. Again, doing a good job at short. Terry Francona told us he hasn't missed an inning since Cabrera was put on a disabled list. Good guy to have on a ball club.
Obviously, Walters going to keep an eye on Bourne. Ron Gardenhire felt like Walters does a good job in trying to slow down that running game. He nearly threw that one away. And, of course, the first baseman, Morneau, is looking right into the sun.
Yeah, Bourne with 11 stolen bases in 15 attempts, and only 1 stolen base attempt against Walters, and that was successful. So pretty quick home. He'll utilize that slide step. Don't bring that left knee up too high.
Avila's hit. You could hear that all the way up here in the 4th deck. Sounded like it got him on the left elbow.
Well, kind of a shaky start for Walters. That's his first hit batsman of the year, going inside. Might have got the left elbow of Avila's. Well, so many players now wear that pad, so it kind of ricochets off of there. Not like it used to be. You could hit them and they'd go ow. Now they don't go ow anymore.
You got a few of them in your day, didn't you?
Of course, by accident.
Every one of them. Yes. I knew that already. Well, here's the hottest Indian of them all right now. We mentioned the American League's reigning player of the week. In fact, co-players of the week, both of them in the Cleveland lineup tonight with Kluber on the mound and Kipnis at the plate.
Yeah, he got off to a little bit of a slow start this year, had an injury, but over the last 33 ball games, hitting .317 and picking up some RBIs. He picked up 3 of the 5 runs batted in last night's win over the Twins. Walters, 28 years old, in his 2nd season with the Twins. Came up, had some shoulder issues last year. Came back in September and pitched pretty well. Invited to spring training as a non-roster player and made the club, did not make the club, went to Rochester, did well down there, then called up on May 25th.
But of course, you see these Twins play virtually every day, Bert Blyleven, and I know you felt like with Walters coming up and Samuel DeDuno, the starter and loser last night, although he went 6 innings, and he only allowed 6 hits and 4 runs.
Yeah, up until their call-up, the starting staff for the Twins were averaging 5 1/3 innings. Now, it's an outstanding bullpen. But now, since DeDuno and Walters have been inserted in that rotation, Twin starters are averaging 6 1/3 innings. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that's a lot of wear and tear off of some good arms in that bullpen for the Twins.
And now, all of a sudden, Walters, who had only walked 9 batters in his 30 innings coming into the game tonight, he's walked a batter, he's hit a batter, and fallen behind 3-1, and those are some of the numbers we talked about. their starting pitchers, and they're getting a lot more starts of 6 or more innings. 3-2 to Kipnis.
Well, Walters making his third start against the Indians. All 3 starts now have been here at Progressive Field in Cleveland. He's got no decisions in his 2 prior starts last year. Twins won both of them, but he didn't pitch all that well. An ERA at 5.79 coming into this ballgame against the Indians.
3-2 to Kipnis. Into left field, slicing away towards the corner, and it drops in fair. Bourne will score. They're going to wave around Aviles. He will score. And we're tied on a 2-run double by Kipnis.
That's good hitting right there by Kipnis on a 3-2 breaking ball. He waited back nicely and sliced that ball down that left field line. So Kipnis continues to swing a hot bat. This is a breaking ball. Look at him go down and hit that ball the other way. Garcia fighting that ball in the corner, got it back in, but a 2-run double for Jason Kipnis.
That gives Kipnis now 40 runs batted in. That is second most on the team, second only to Mark Reynolds. In his 6 starts, now 7 runs allowed in the opening inning by Walters, and he faces Michael Brantley.
That's one thing that has really hurt the Twins this year. They have given up a lot of first inning runs.
Falling behind another batter is Walters, 2-0.
See the first inning runs allowed by the Twins now 67. They have only scored 35 thanks to Joe Mauer's 2-run home run.
Short center field. This will not advance Kipnis second to third. He'll bluff the tag as Thomas fires into the cutoff man Florimone. 1 out in the inning. Right now it's time for the Own Your Space pitcher profile, brought to you by Avis on the one-time Cardinal, P.J. Walters.
Yeah, P.J. Walters' last road start in Kansas City, pitched very well. Did throw a lot of pitches in 6 innings. And, you know, in today's game, my goodness, do they keep track of those pitch counts. And,
too much?
Too much, I think. Depending on the pitcher, depending on how much that pitcher is under duress, you know, as he gets late into the ball game.
There's Carlos Santana, the Cleveland catcher, switch hitter.
Yeah, what I mean by duress is, you know, say a guy, you know, throws a lot of pitches, but there's not really an inning really. He has to really pitch to get out of a tough inning, and he's gone six good innings, and he's at, say, 95. Let him go 1 more. Get him through 7 if you can. That's like a complete game in today's game.
2-0 now to Santana as Walters has fallen behind virtually every batter in the inning.
Yeah, Trevor Plouffe going to come in and just try to make him take a deep breath and get back in that strike zone. Unlike P.J. Walters in his previous starts, 5 starts. As you mentioned, only 5 or 9 walks for Walters in 31 innings pitched.
Santana with 10 home runs, 32 runs batted in, carries a .277 batting average. And that one rolled over foul. You know, we make so much, Bert, about, you know, righty versus lefty, lefty versus righty, home, road, so statistical based. We continue to get more and more. Did you think it was a big deal, home and road, when you took the mound?
No, you just go out there and try to do the best you can. You know, there are certain ballparks you felt a little more comfortable going into. I didn't like going into Fenway Park with that green monster talking to me, you know, behind my right shoulder. I remember Dan Gladden, who does radio here, I'm in pitching in Boston, and he's telling me to pitch this guy away I turned around, he looked like he was standing next to me. I said, move back. He says, I'm already against the wall, Bert.
3-1 on Carlos Santana. He's had a 10-game hit streak come to an end earlier this week against Kansas City. And he draws a walk second of the inning along with a hit batter issued by Walters. The judiciary for tonight, John Hirschbeck calling the balls and strikes. Eric Cooper, Chad Fairchild, and the crew chief working at third is Jeff Kellogg.
Yeah, Rick Anderson out to the mound, the pitching coach for Ron Gardenhire for many years. Try to settle down P.J. Walters.
While we have a moment, let's take a peek ahead to baseball night in America again in prime time next Saturday night. Well, we've got some good ones for you. Yankees and the Orioles. Reds are in Texas to take on the Rangers. The Tigers will be in Tampa Bay. What all of a sudden has gotten into that Toronto Blue Jays team? Winning again today, 4-2 over Baltimore. What, 10 in a row now?
10 in a row, and everybody in that division now, the Eastern Division, the American League, over 500. Boston Red Sox still leading the league. Baltimore is tough. Buck Showalter's done a great job there.
Now Mark Reynolds. Big swing and a miss.
And you know those Tampa Bay Rays, they're going to be in it at the end with Joe Madden.
Well, it's a wild start tonight already in Detroit, and of course both of these teams will peek in on that game from time to time. Boston got 2 in the top of the first. Tigers with 4, and still batting in the bottom of the first inning. We got a wild start here tonight.
Well, there must be a full moon. I know it was out last night. It must still be out somewhere because a lot of strange things are happening so far. A lot of runs scored. Walters has thrown 26 pitches, only 11 strikes.
One and two on Reynolds, who's played most of the year at third base. They brought him in as a free agent during the offseason. From 2008 through 2012 with Arizona, Reynolds hit the 8th most home runs among all players in Major League Baseball. He's been a home run guy or a big swing and a miss guy. And unfortunately for him and the Indians, after hitting some home runs and driving in some big runs early, there's been a lot more swinging and missing going on lately.
Wow, he's a .235 career hitter with almost 200 home runs, and that's part of his game. Almost you look at a small version of Adam Dunn, you know. When he hits it, it goes a long way, and sometimes he swings and misses. Led the National League in strikeouts 3 times from 2008 to 2010 when he was with the Diamondbacks.
Of course, that includes a Major League Baseball single season record in 2009 in Arizona.
I hope a lot of them are swinging. Go down swinging.
Here's we're swinging. Pretty good eye there not to chase that breaking ball away, so the count goes full on Reynolds. Jason Giambi, the designated hitter, stands in the on-deck circle. 2 in the Minnesota first, 2 and still batting here in the Cleveland opening inning.
Now third 3-2 count. So P.J. Walters getting a workout here in the first inning.
Will be pitch number 32, and there's still only 1 out. Santana on at first. Up the trail and around the bend after a 2-run double is Kipnis. And once more the 3-2 on Reynolds. They are loaded.
Three walks this inning, a hit batsman, and there's just 1 out.
Giambi just a 180 batter, but he does have 6 home runs and 20 runs batted in. In our visit with Terry Francona before the game, I mean, he couldn't have been more clear by saying, I have never been around anybody in my life like Jason Giambi, meaning the positive influence that he has had joining this Cleveland team.
Well,
and how delighted he is to manage this guy.
Yeah, he and Walt Weiss were teammates, in Oakland, and Walt Weiss, thought about him managing the Colorado Rockies because of his personality and the way he treats other people and his communication skills. Pretty nice words coming from Terry Francona.
That's high praise. Terry Francona's been around this game a long, long time. Of course, he grew up in this game. His father played the big leagues, Tito Francona, for a long, long time, including 5 years here in Cleveland. We asked him before the game, do you remember much about, growing up or spending any time here in Cleveland? He said, I was born in '59. My dad left after '64. But he ran into Joe Askew at an old-timers event here in Cleveland. And Joe Askew walked up to him and said, you'll never remember this. And Terry said, yeah, I will. Your wife used to make me hot chocolate before every game. And Joe said, how in the world did you remember that? In an interesting twist, our colleague on Fox, Bob Brenly, he was the president of the Tito Francona fan club growing up as a kid in Coshocton, Ohio. 2-1 to Giambi.
What do you get when you're president of a fan club? Do you have to send out flyers or?
He said when he notified Mr. Francona that he was the president of his fan club, he received a beautiful autograph. And Tito took care of him, and he said that's all a kid could ever want. Well, and Walters needing a compass to find the strike zone.
Well, and that pitch not missing by much, but when you're kind of all over the place, and John Hirschbeck has been known to have a pretty nice strike zone, but if you're not hitting your spots on a consistent basis, that ball may be a little bit high.
A 3-ball count to now 5 hitters in the inning, 3-1. And it's ball 4 to walk in a run. And it's 3-2 Cleveland here in the opening inning with still just 1 out.
Well, Giambi will get an RBI with that bases loaded walk, his 21st. When you're struggling with your control, let's take a look at the pitch by pitch to Jason Giambi. Walters just trying to get ahead. He's missing down. The breaking ball get over to even the count. Then he missed a changeup low. Then that looked like a changeup away. And they just, Mauer couldn't block that ball, but run scores anyway. Another walk. 4 walks in the inning.
First pitch breaking ball is ball 1 to Chisenhall. Lonnie Chisenhall, highly touted prospect in the Indians organization, began the year in Cleveland. They sent him out in mid-May and just brought him back up. Looks at a strike. Five times in his career, Giambi has drawn a walk with the bases loaded. He's always been a very patient hitter. Popped up short right. Parmalee coming on to get it, and Santana not going anywhere. 2 outs in the inning, and boy, did Walters need that.
Yeah, that ball just not hit deep enough for Santana to think about tagging up. Twins outfield, they have made a lot of outfield assists, and Parmalee right there getting that ball back in. Got behind the ball. Parmalee has 6 outfield assists, and for the Twins, 23 overall. That's the most in the major leagues. Hitting that cutoff man, and that's Justin Morneau. Santana thought about it, and then decided not to.
So now the 9th man to bat in the inning is Drew Stubbs. In his first year with Cleveland, a former #1 draft pick by the Cincinnati Reds, and came over during the offseason in a 3-team deal. Cincinnati, Cleveland, and Arizona. With former Indian Shin-Soo Choo being traded to the Reds. Stubbs' blazing speed, a fabulous athlete, but contact has generally been his problem. All the years in Cincinnati and now in Cleveland, a .237 batting. 1-1.
Yeah, last year for the Reds, he played in 36 ball games, 136, hit only .213. Has some pop in his bat. 64 career home runs.
This is where the Indians, for whatever reason, have been so good, and that is scoring with 2 outs in an inning. The only 2 teams in baseball that have scored more runs with 2 outs in the inning are the 2 highest scoring teams in the National League, Colorado and St. Louis. Three and 1 to Stubbs. See, that number is second in Major League Baseball, second only to St. Louis. St. Louis leads in virtually every offensive category there is known to man. 3-1 breaking ball, a strike.
Well, you're all over the place with your fastball on a 3-1 pitch with bases loaded. Drops the curveball over. And Walters wants to discuss this with Joe Mauer, this next pitch. 45 pitches already here in the first inning for Walters.
Well, he's trying to survive. If he can get out of this inning with everything he has been through, a 3-run inning, while not ideal, keeps you in the ball game.
Hey, you say you're only down by 1 run, thanks to Mauer's home run.
And he has walked his 5th batter in the inning. He's walked in a 2nd run in the inning. Anthony Swarzak is ready in the bullpen, and he'll come on to pitch. That's all for Walters. He faces 9 batters, walks 5, hits a batter, and leaves with the bases juiced and 2 outs in the first. 2/3 of an inning, 1 hit, but he walked 5 and hit a batter. And he will give way to right-hander Anthony Swarzak, who leads all major league relievers in innings pitched.
Yeah, 45 1/3 innings out of that bullpen for the Twins. A very solid bullpen. And Swarzak's a pitcher that was once a starter, now a long man out of that bullpen. They're going to need some innings out of him.
Michael Bourne led off this inning with a walk, scored the first of what has been a 4-run first, and in between innings, the skipper coming down and
pat you on the head. That still doesn't help if you're P.J. Walters. Not what you waited 5 or 6 days for.
A little flare in the shallow center, and that will fall in a base hit. 2 more runs will score. Throw to third, safe there. 2-run single by Bourne, and it's a 6-run Cleveland opening inning.
Well, you saw the speed of Drew Stubbs right there, going from first to third and sliding in safely on a very close play at third base. Bourne picking up a couple RBIs now with 13. Thomas playing the hop, and then one hopping Trevor Plouffe on a bang-bang play. Jeff Kellogg, the crew chief, right on top of it, and he says that Stubbs got that foot on the bag before Plouffe could apply the tag. Giambi scoring.
Stubbs among the fastest players in all of baseball. I mean, he can run. Avila's hit by a pitch earlier in this inning and scored. When's the last time you saw a team score 6 runs in an inning on 2 base hits? There is something about this Cleveland team, though, here at home. They play very, very well. They're 23 and 14. That's the 3rd best home record in the American League behind Detroit and Oakland. And is pulled foul and out of play. Of course, the Tigers and the A's are division leaders.
And just like the Indians, their Tigers are winning because they're playing well at home. Tigers are 24 and 13 at home. And they're ahead of Boston in the 2nd inning, 4-2.
One ball and 1 strike on Avila's with runners on the corners and 2 out. Swarzak ahead of the ball and 2 strikes.
Now Swarzak, 27 years old, from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, in his 4th season with the Twins. Twins tried starting him, and it just didn't work out. 28 career starts, 6-17 record, an ERA at almost 6. But as a reliever, he's 5-5 with a 3.7 ERA coming out of the bullpen.
1 hopper, and mercifully, this bottom of the 1st comes to an end for the Twins. The Indians strike for 6 and lead by 4. And only Ford gives you EcoBoost fuel economy and a whole lot more. And by Taco Bell, sometimes you gotta live miles. Aerial coverage tonight provided by the Goodyear Blimp. Everything Goodyear has learned making tires that go the distance inspires what they roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven.
Well, Corey Kluber kind of given a little reprieve from that first inning he had when he allowed that 2-run home run to Joe Mauer. Now with a 4-run lead as a pitcher, this is a very important inning. Every inning's important, but when you have a 4-run lead, anytime your team puts a crooked number on the board, important to go out those strikes and put a 0 on the board.
Chris Parmalee, a .222 batter, 5 home runs and 14 runs batted in. Grew up in Chino Hills, California. Graduated from high school there. Committed originally to Cal State Fullerton and decided to sign with the Twins. That ball hit hard into deep left center, and Bourne will run it down. All right, Mr. Blyleven, let's take a look at our Ford keys to the game tonight.
Well, we kind of had to change the Twins because that was about starting pitching, so we kind of changed that around a little bit. But the Ford keys for the Twins, they must now rely on the bullpen, a very good bullpen, lowest earned run average in the American League, and they're hoping to get extra innings out of Anthony Swarzak. Indians continue to win here at home. We mentioned that the Indians are 23-14 here at home. Smaller crowds, they've drawn the fewest amount of fans in the American League. Last year they were off to a good start, and then the ship sunk, and fans kind of stayed away. And what Terry Francona's hoping that the Indians can continue to win here and bring the fans back into this beautiful ballpark.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to earn them back.
Yes.
I mean, folks out there, doesn't matter where you live in the economy, and everybody going through everything they've been through, and still a very, very poor economy overall. There's a liner into left field and caught. Sinking line drive by Michael Brantley. And it's time to take a game break. Let's send it back to our MLB Network studio.
Tom, thank you very much. Max Scherzer's trying to improve his record to 11-0, but he's down 2-0 until Victor Martinez connects for his 3rd career Grand Slam. It's 4-2 Tigers. Remember, Detroit only 3 games up on the Indians in the AL Central. Tom Burt, back to you in Cleveland.
Greg Amsinger, thank you very much. We'll be checking in with you throughout the rest of the night. 2 up and 2 down. Anyway, getting back to the whole thing about the crowd. I mean, when you've had some down years, and the Indians have had some down years since they're great clubs in the mid-'90s, and they had a couple of decent teams since then. But you got to win them back.
Yeah, you really do. I don't care where you play. Unless you're in Boston, New York, they always seem to come out. But then you look at them, they're always in the top of their division, too. So they create that fan interest of just a community saying, hey, you going to the ball game? No, I'm not going to go see those guys. But instead, you want it to be, I want to go see the Indians play. They're playing very well. At one time, you can see 455 consecutive sellouts here in Cleveland.
There's a rocket into right center, and it's off the glove of Stubbs. And racing into second base and sliding in there safely is Pedro Florimon, and we'll see how they score that. I mean, Stubbs went a long way to get it, but he did have it in the glove, and they scored a double.
Yeah, it looked like Stubbs right here thought he had it, took a couple steps, and the ball just fell out like a snow cone. And Bourne has to back it up and get it back in, and they will give Florimon a double. 4th hit of the ball game for the Twins. Florimon's 9th of the year.
Now, Minnesota hitting the ball very hard against Kluber here in this 2nd inning. A line out to center, a line out to left, a line drive there that goes for a double. And now Thomas, who led off the game with a single and scored on the Joe Mauer home run. He looks at ball 1. Good breaking ball there on the outside corner, and that'll even account at 1-1 on Clete Thomas.
Yeah, Thomas originally signed by the Tigers back in 2005. Came up with the Tigers in 2008. Up and down for about 3 different seasons.
Now, you see the Tigers a lot. It almost seems like the Tigers were wanting this guy or somebody in that mix, Thomas a part of it, to go out and win an everyday job.
Well, they had Brandon Bosch that was kind of doing a very good job, and then, you know, he's no longer there. They've lost some pretty good young outfielders, but Thomas just didn't really produce.
We mentioned earlier that right now Thomas is getting a chance to get in that lineup with Aaron Hicks out injured, but Hicks will be coming back.
He's about ready to start rehab, either down in Florida or AAA.
Thomas gone swinging, and that's all for the Twins in the second. He hit a man left. Cleveland leading 6-2. Sponsored by Bud Light Lime. Lime-A-Rita, and introducing new Strawberry. Welcome back to Cleveland, Ohio. Indians bat in the home half of the second against reliever Anthony Swarzak, who replaced starter P.J. Walters after 2/3 of an inning. Allowing base hits wasn't the problem for Walters. He only gave up one. But he walked 5, hit a batter, charged with 6 earned runs. Kipnis knocked in the first 2 with a double. And kind enough to join us down in the Indians dugout. Right now serving as their closer after doing such a great job setting up Chris Perez prior to Perez getting hurt is Vinny Pestano. Vinny, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
Doing great. Nothing wrong with sitting there watching your team in a 6-run first inning.
Yeah, not at all. I'm a little exposed right now. I'm waiting for these lefties. There we go. There we go. There we go. Nice little seed shower. Don't know if I have one I can eat on me. Oh.
Hey, Vinny, you came into the ball game last night. You sprinted from the bullpen to the mound. Is that something you've always done, and where'd you learn to do that?
You know what? It started in college. I was just really excited. To get out there. My first appearance. Sorry, I'm feeling a little hail and some snow apparently. No, on my first appearance in college, coach called me from the pen, and I just sprinted out there. So I've been doing it ever since.
I think a lot of people forget, Vinny, when you were playing at Cal State Fullerton, you had reconstructive elbow surgery. You got hurt, your junior year, right?
Yes, sir, about a month for the draft.
And I was getting ready to say, that is why you wound up slipping all the way down to the 20th round. There were 610 players chosen ahead of you, as that one is slapped into left field by Kipnis, and that's the way it starts in the Cleveland second inning. You know, oftentimes you hear players talk about pitching with a quote-unquote chip on their shoulder. Is that the case at all with you, based on what happened to you?
Definitely. But you know what? It always hasn't been that. I was a sidearm right-hander, didn't really light up the radar gun. So, it was always trying to have to prove myself. And even when I got to pro ball, I stopped at every level. I had every rung on the ladder on the way up. So I always had to prove myself and put up numbers to get here. So once I got the opportunity, I definitely didn't want to give them a reason to send me anywhere else.
Well, Vinny, now that you're in that closer role, it's not a new role for you. You did it, I believe you said you did it in Cal State Fullerton, and you've also done it in the minor leagues for the Indians.
Yeah, definitely. Have a lot of experience in the ninth inning. Not a ton of it up here, obviously. I filled in the past couple of years when Chris wasn't able to go. But you know what? Every stop I had in the minor leagues and 2 years in college, I was closing. So I feel comfortable out there in the eighth and ninth inning.
Well, the guy that's always pitched the seventh or eighth inning in yourself, you know the importance of, say, Joe Smith in front of you, and Allen, Cody Allen, what those guys mean to you as now being the closer.
Definitely. Those guys are definitely the unsung heroes, especially Joe Smith. The work he's been able to do the past couple of years down there, handing the ball to me so I can get the ball to CP, and you know what? It just worked out really well. But Joe, and then obviously the emergence of Cody Allen this year, has done a great job.
Now, you pitched in the WBC. How was that experience?
I had a blast doing it. I had an awesome time. It was something that I set my sights on right before, right at the end of last season. I set my sights on trying to be a part of it. I was happy to get that phone call from Joe Torre asking me to be on the team.
So the fielder's choice ground ball by Brantley. Vinny, you've been around long enough now where, as you get a look at this force out at second base, but Vinny, the feel of your team, we asked Terry Francona about it. You guys have been so streaky, extended periods of streakiness. You went on a long way. Apparently we're going to have a hard time talking to you, whoever it is over
Justin
there pouring the water on your head.
Yeah, well, the other thing is we got all these lefties coming up, and I'm just waiting for somebody to catch a fastball deep and come right at me. So I got a lot of things to handle right now.
Well, I tell you what, we'll let you get back at it in there because those guys are going to make it hard for you to be able to hang out with
those are the starters
us.
that are messing with him because they have nothing better to do.
That's right.
Yeah, and these are all the guys that turned down the interview. I don't know why you guys are interviewing me. You guys probably should have a lot better candidates than me, but it's just part of the business. These guys are having fun. I'll be able to get back there and try to throw my own seeds in a second.
All right, my friend. Thanks for taking the time to join us.
Vinny, thank you.
Thank you, guys.
2-0 to count on Carlos Santana.
Justin Masterson. That's what starters do when they don't, pitch in a ball game. They sit at the end of the dugout and look for somebody to just fool with.
Two and 0 to count on Santana, and there's a strike on the outside corner. Tell you what, we had Adam Wainwright on last year one day for the Cardinals. A couple of his teammates started doing that, and when that half inning was over, he made it very clear better never happen again.
I like it.
I liked it too. 2-1 to count on Carlos Santana. Big swing and a miss.
Well, Swarzak has a good fastball, pretty good curveball, slider, changeup. That's why the Twins thought that he could be a starter when he first came up. But he's one of these guys that maybe once, twice through the lineup, and then you want to bring in somebody else.
The 5 walks in the first inning is the most by a Minnesota team since June of 1975 when Joe Decker walked.
Joe Decker.
I beg your pardon. Joe Decker walked 5 in Cleveland. That one swung and fell.
I'm just happy my name wasn't on that.
Come on.
I had a game in Baltimore. I walked the first 3 batters. I called timeout, had the home plate umpire come out, and I said, "This mound is tilted." And he looked at me like I was crazy, which I usually am, and I went back out, and I got out of the inning somehow and probably gave up some runs, but I walked the first 3, and it's like, whoa, and I know what P.J. Walters felt like right there. You have 15, 20 minutes in a bullpen, everything's probably good, hitting your spots, you come out here, and for some reason you can't throw strikes.
it's frequently discussed, and you were out there. You had a chance to pitch in both leagues. And you still have relationships with pitchers, obviously, especially on this Minnesota team, but all over baseball. And guys, talk about the difference between the bullpen mound and the regular mound.
Usually at home, if you're at home, they try to build the mound the same way. Here's another base hit. Off the bat of Carlos Santana.
And they had Brantley on the run on that 3-2 pitch, and Santana hooks it into right, so they're on the corners. With only one out of the inning, and Cleveland trying to add to a 6-2 lead here in the second inning. What's right around the corner next month? Baseball's greatest stars will gather in New York for the biggest event of the summer. Baseball's Midsummer Classic returns to Fox, and of course home field advantage for the World Series will be on the line. The 2013 Major League Baseball All-Star Game from Citi Field in New York, July the 16th, only on Fox. On the corners for Mark Reynolds, he walked and scored in that 6-run first.
Or didn't.
You're just tuning in and you're looking at your TV and you're saying, does that say the second inning on it? That's right. 5 walks and a hit batter in the Cleveland first.
Yeah, P.J. Walters, just not his day. 46 pitches, 27 strikes with the 5 walks.
Tell you the way things are going right now in that American League fan balloting for the All-Star game. That's starting to look a lot like a Baltimore Orioles home game for the American League team.
How about the year that Chris Davis is having? Unbelievable.
He's the leading vote getter over at first. You see teammates Hardy, Jones, Markakis, all the leading vote getter. Joe Mauer from the Twins leading at the catcher's position. Going on 3 pitches is Reynolds.
And that's a big strikeout. We talked in his first at bat. Mark Reynolds does swing and miss a lot. And that's exactly what the Twins needed. Swarzak needed a strikeout for the second out of the inning. Runners at first and third. Now 2 outs.
And that'll bring up Giambi, who drew a bases loaded walk 1 inning ago. Well, you're talking about Davis, but I think all of us just continue to marvel at the kind of year again Miguel Cabrera's had. 368 batting average, 20 home runs, being overshadowed by the 27 of Davis, but 74 runs batted in and leads the league in hits.
Yeah, if it wasn't for Chris Davis, you'd be saying we might win the Triple Crown again, back-to-back years.
And I still wouldn't bet against it.
No.
I mean, Davis has had a great first couple of months, but Cabrera's been known to finish strong.
Yes, he has. You can see where he is in home runs, now 7 behind Davis, but still 5 runs more as far as driving in runs, and both of them having great years. A great year.
1-1 to Giambi. I mean, you're Davis. You're hitting .339, and that other cat's hitting nearly 30 points better than you are. One and 2 to Giambi. Runners on the corners, 2 out. Hit hard, and that is a foul ball. Boy, Giambi jumped all over that 1-2 pitch.
Yeah, Eric Cooper, the first base umpire, straddling the line, and he saw that ball just go foul behind the first base bag. See the angle that we have, and that's what Cooper's looking at, and the ball foul. Would have been extra bases maybe for Giambi.
Michael Brantley, the runner at third base. Santana with a single leads at first, held on over there by Morneau. once more fouled off out of play.
Giambi, 42 years old. This is his 19th season playing Major League Baseball. Came up with the Oakland A's back in '95. Also with the Yankees. Back to Oakland, then Colorado, then coming over here to Cleveland. 2000 American League MVP when he was with the Oakland A's. Most valuable player.
On some mighty good teams out there with the Athletics, with Miguel Tejada and the front three and the pitching staff. Swung on and fouled back out of play, but they just could not get through that opening round of the playoffs. See 435 career home runs that will, forever be tainted. Well, he never came out and said, I use steroids, the whole PED and performance-enhancing drug scandal. That really, Giambi just laid it all out there on the open, admitted everything. And many believe that is why he has been accepted and welcomed back by and large by most fans around baseball, because he wasn't trying to cover anything up.
Terry Francona telling us that, the big part when he was in New York, that Derek Jeter kind of went on his side, his corner. And that kind of took, a lot of the burden, Giambi said, off of his shoulders. When the captain of the Yankees says, you know what, it is what it is. He accepted. He was truthful. He was honest. Now let's move on. And that's exactly what Giambi's done. And baseball's trying to do. And a long at bat here for Giambi against Swarzak. Eight pitch at bat so far for Jason Giambi. And when you're a long man like Swarzak that had to come in the first inning, you want quick outs, so hopefully you can get into the fifth or sixth inning. Swarzak a couple times this year has had to go 4 innings in relief because of a starter that maybe didn't go more than 2 or 3. But here, Walters couldn't make it through the first.
And another foul ball off out of play. It remains 2-2 on Giambi. That is 79 pitches, make it now 80 total pitches thrown by the duo of Walters and Swarzak through an inning and 2/3.
I don't think they kept pitch counts up until, I think, starting 1988, somewhere in there, where you can go back on and look at the pitch counts. As you mentioned, now everything's a numbers game.
In the air, short left center, and that will be all for the Indians in a scoreless second inning. Joe Mauer homered his first time up. They'll start things in the third. We're back to Cleveland after a word from your local Fox station. Is presented by Ace Hardware. And we welcome you to downtown Cleveland, Ohio on a beautiful summer night. Good crowd on hand for the Tribe. We mentioned they've had a hard time getting folks to the ballpark, but a good crowd tonight. They inducted Carlos Baerga and John Hart to the Indians Hall of Fame in a pregame show ceremony. They've got fireworks after the game tonight. And the Indians scored 6 times in the bottom of the first inning after Joe Mauer, who starts things here in the third, hit a 2-run home run in the Minnesota first inning. Boy, and did he hit it.
Yeah, he jumped on that first pitch, unlike Joe Mauer, who will usually see 4 or 5 pitches on almost an every at-bat basis. One of the best 2-strike hitters in a game of baseball.
Of course, a local kid, grew up in St. Paul. Cretin-Durham High School in the St. Paul, Minneapolis area. That ball scalded into left center field, but there's Bourne. They had him shaded perfectly. Mauer retired for the first out of the inning. Let's check out the Fox Sports 1 fan cam. How about this? Love is in the air. They're so excited about America's new sports network, Fox Sports 1, coming August the 17th. And we congratulate bride and groom, Jennifer and now Adam O'Donish.
Congratulations.
They took some really cool pictures. You and I were here very early today, saw them, the entire wedding party, taking pictures around home plate. Did you ever consider getting married at the ballpark?
I was just going to ask you that. No.
No.
How about yourself?
No, but you were a ball player. I mean, you know, I'm just some stiff up here in the booth. No. I remember the only guy I've ever heard about it that's in baseball, Don Zimmer. He got married, if I remember right, that was Elmira, New York, if I remember correctly. And he
that's
got
where all
married
the players have
play.
the bat.
That's right.
Walk underneath.
That's right. That's what they did. Well, one of the great characters and great people in the history of the game, Don Zimmer.
Very nice man. He's still, I believe, the eye in the sky or assistant coach to Joe Madden down in Tampa. Good to see him once in a while. Always that big smile on his face.
Oh, yeah. Swing and a miss. Of course, for many, many years, he had a chance to work with his old high school buddy. They're native Buckeyes. Don Zimmer and Jim Fry both went to Western Hills High School in Cincinnati, the same high school that produced baseball's all-time hits king, Peter Edward Rose. There's a roller back to the mound that'll be handled by Kluber. And their first 2 retired here in the third inning. Now let's take a look at the Fox Sports 1 pitcher comparison presented by Fox Sports 1, America's new sports network. August 17th, the launch date.
Yeah, Kluber so far 2 2/3 innings, 4 hits, a couple runs off the bat of Joe Mauer's home run, and the Twins pitchers. Now Swarzak in the ball game, 6 walks in the ball game.
Well, naturally, we
Excuse
are
me,
very
5
excited.
walks.
5 walks, yeah, 5 in that first inning, along with a hit batter. So a 2 down, and here's Morneau. Morneau popped up to the shortstop. Avila's his first time up. Back up through the middle and finds the open hole in the center field. A base hit for Morneau. Now, there's been a lot of talk about Morneau. He's in the final year of a 6-year contract that he signed back in 2008. And there are some rumors already starting out there that unless Minnesota were to really get back close in this thing in the American League Central, would the Twins consider trading Justin Morneau?
Well, you know, you're going to lose him to free agency. Does he want to re-sign with Minnesota if they offer him a contract? So, you know, the Twins right now, we had a chance to sit with Gardy about the minor league system. It's getting stronger and stronger. And, you know, you can, and I'm just saying, you can trade a guy like Justin, get some young, talented kids for him, maybe at the All-Star break. Don't know. I think the Twins have some decisions to make. See where they're at in the race, I'd say, toward the end of July, and then decide, maybe even later.
It was very refreshing to hear Ron Gardenhire talking and so excited about those players coming up in the Twins organization. Of course, for so many years, they were, if not the model, they were one of the model franchises for the small market or mid-market club that had to do it the old-fashioned way about signing players, developing players, bringing those players in groups to the major leagues year after year to be able to contend. And he feels like the Twins are on their way to being that franchise again. Gone swinging his clue. We're going to the bottom of the third. Indians lead 6-2. Minnesota got a 2-run home run in the top of the first inning by Joe Mauer. But 5 walks, a hit, batsman only 1 hit, leading to 6 runs eventually charged to P.J. Walters. So here comes Chisenhall to be followed by Drew Stubbs, and back to the top of the order in Michael Bourne in the Cleveland third. When we heard from Vinny Pestano over on the Cleveland side a little while ago, and kind enough to join us. Well, what an outstanding player he was. And, Bert, I'm going to say it anyway. You told me not to say it about the first-year hitting coach of these Twins, Tom Brunansky. Tom, thanks for the time today.
Oh, thanks, guys. Fun
you
to
guys
be
have had a good week, Tom. Obviously, tonight, there's a long way to go. We'll see what happens. But you know, when you're working with so many young players, I would imagine there's such a thing as sometimes walking before you run. And you guys have swung the bat better this week.
We've gotten better. You know, there is certainly a learning curve here, and we got younger guys in the lineup that are going through their growing pains, and they're experiencing situations for the first time that you know, they're going to have some failure before they have some success, and now they're starting to feel a little bit better about what they're doing and their work and everything. So that's nice to see that we're starting to see some of those rewards.
Hey, Bruno, I know you left the game after you retired for a while, spent a lot of time with the family, but now you wanted to get back into baseball. What drove you to come back?
Well, actually, it was a good friend of mine back in San Diego that got me involved in coaching high school. That you know, I was with the family and had no desire at all to get back into the game. And once I started helping out at the high school level, that blood flow just started going, and the feeling of wanting to be back involved and to help out took over. And then I coached there for a few years, and lo and behold, it led me back to this path I'm on right now.
I'm not sure that Trevor Plouffe ever saw that ball come off the bat.
Well, it got jammed right here, and Trevor Plouffe came in and didn't really get a lot on that throw. That's always a tough play for that third baseman to come in. You see him hesitate right there for a second, and then to throw a little bit up the line.
Yeah, that reaction is why I felt like I'm not sure he ever saw it.
Well, you know, you pitch a guy in, you expect him to, you know, hit it the other way. So Chisenhall gets an infield base hit, 5th hit for the Indians. Hey, Bruno, in a ball game like this, what do you tell the guys? I mean, you're down by 4 runs, and Twins have found themselves really this year down a lot early. How do you tell these guys to keep battling?
Well, you know, that's part of the game as well. But the thing I like to stress is I want them to continue to have quality at-bats. If we put the quality at-bat in front of the result, then you know we'll pick up a couple runs. And that's all you need to do is just scratch out 1 here, 2 there. Then the next thing you find out that you're right back into the ball game, and now all of a sudden it's a good situation to be aggressive. But, you know, as of right now, I don't want them to change their game plan. I want us to go out there and still work the count, take those quality at-bats, and put something on the board. We're hitting the ball well. We've hit a lot of line drives already right at some guys, so we're just waiting for those to drop and put a few points on the board.
Bruno, a lot of people probably ask you, coaching Joe Mauer, your first year as hitting coach, how's that relationship been, and is there something that you see in Joe that you tell him from time to time, or how do you try to manage him?
Well, the first thing I do is get a relationship with the veterans. Most of the younger guys I've seen a little bit, so I have an idea what their work ethic is, some of the drill sets they have, and some of their faults. But with the veteran guys, it's just you ask a lot of questions, you build up a relationship to start to get a trust to go both ways with that, and then you start watching and you ask them what drills they like to do and things that they feel when they're going well and when they're not going well. And with that, next thing you know, you start to pick up a few things, and once you build that relationship, then all of a sudden it becomes real easy. It's just communication.
You know, we were talking as there's a fielder's choice ground out by Stubbs, 1 away in the inning. We were talking on the other side with Terry Francona. He gets a job. And, you know, Bert had asked him about learning the personnel that he had inside this Indians organization. Now, you had a chance to see some of these younger players, but not a lot of time seeing these younger players. What's that learning curve been like for you?
Well, actually, it's like I said, with the younger guys, it was easier for me because I did have a relationship with them. I saw them perform, obviously not at this level, which is another huge step in their career, but it helped because then all of a sudden you have that trust walking in the door. You know, you didn't have to build that type of relationship with them, and you already had a vision in their mind of what their swing was like. With the veteran guys, you know, you have to ask a lot of questions. You look at a lot of film, and thankfully, on my end, I've had Joe Vavra here and Scotty Olger here. I picked their brains quite a bit. I mean, this isn't just a one-dog guy here. And we're going to go out there, and I'm certainly not going to be naive to think that I can do it all by myself. And I sit there and ask these guys a lot, and we have conversed on a bunch of those guys, and it helps me learn and it helps me get better at what I need to do.
Hey, Bruno, I know when we were teammates with the Twins, and you know, I always saw the back of your number when you played right field when I pitched. But you know, we didn't have the video that you have today. Do you utilize that a lot?
You know, it's there. It's part of the game. It's today's game. I utilize it, but I'm not big on it. I don't want our guys to dwell on it too much. Right. I know we get caught up in that because it's so readily available to go check and see what an umpire strike zone is or if they missed a pitch. But I think we use it more as a crutch as we do than a tool. So if we're going to use it as a tool to see where the catcher's going to set up, or if we're going to look at our swing and go back and check some stuff out from previous weeks or years, that's a good thing. You know, that's the nice stuff that we have available. But if you go back to look at it just to make sure you want to prove somebody right or wrong, then it's not really helping you too much. I look at it and I'll break some stuff down and I'll sit down with guys occasionally, but I really don't want them to see too much and think too much. I want them to feel what we're working on and carry that feeling out into the ball game.
Hey, let me ask you one thing. Last week, Detroit was in Minnesota. I had a chance to sit down with Jim Leland and ask him about, you know, like Victor Martinez. He told me, he says, you know what, Bert? He said, sometimes hitters can swing too much, meaning they go to the cage, they hit off the tee, then they hit early, they hit late. How do you control that?
There's a lot of that. That's another big difference is that now every place we go, we have our own cages, whether at home or on the road. Everybody comes in for early work, and then they have their batting practice, and some guys will come in before the game to get loose. So it's kind of my job to get to know these guys and know what they like and know what they can do. And then when we have to back off a little bit, we do it. I just say, hey, guys, not today. You guys are swinging the bat real well. Try to feed them with positive information and get them to shut it down a bit.
Tom, we can't thank you enough for your time. All
Thanks,
the best.
Bruno.
Continued success.
All right, guys. We'll get a few more runs here.
Top half of the fourth inning, Indians with a 6-2 lead over Minnesota. Of course, Tom Brunansky traded by the Cardinals to the Red Sox for Lee Smith back in May of 1990, and then later that year made a season-saving catch off an Ozzie Guillen line drive that preserved a win, sending the Red Sox on to the American League Championship Series. What a catch that was.
Boy, that catch right there as a Twins fan reminds me of, Bob Allison's catch in the '65 World Series when he slid across the foul line down to left field. Bruno, good hitter, good power, and a very good teammate. That's the most important thing.
Well, he'll be watching his hitters go to work here in the fourth inning against Corey Kluber. Kluber allowed a single and a 2-run home run after the first two batters of the game. And he's given up some hard hit balls, and here's another one deep into left center field. And that will find the seats into left center. Oswaldo Arcia solo home run. That's his 6th of the year. And that makes it a 3-run game.
Well, I tell you what, earlier this year, Ron Gardenhire had to send Arcia down. He said that was one of the toughest things he had to do. He sees so much potential in this young 22-year-old. And you just saw some of the power that he can generate, hitting that ball a long way to straightaway center. Good solid swing by Arcia, and it's a 6-3 ball game. So 2 home runs hit by the Twins.
There's a first out in the inning. There's a long way to go in this game. I mean, we've been here for a while already. We played nearly an hour and a half of baseball, and we're only in the top of the fourth inning. But just a 3-run game, and that's what Tom Brunansky was talking about a minute ago. Well, one here, 2 there. Next thing you know, you're down a run.
Hey, he said we're hitting some line drives, but right at the defense, and hopefully some will fall in. Well, I guess if you hit it over the fence, they'll go with. You don't have to worry about anybody catching it other than the fan up there.
So now Dozier, we mentioned he's homered in 3 straight games, 4 of his last 5. He hit the ball very hard, a sinking line drive and a sliding catch made by Brantley in the second inning.
Well, Dozier hitting a home run in last night's game. The only home run for either side. That came in the 6th inning. The only run for the Twins. Scott Kazmir pitched a great ball game. 7 very good innings.
He's come all the way back.
The Indians hope so. They hope they can keep him healthy. He's one of the starters. Of course, you got Jimenez, you have Masterson, but if Kluber and also Kazmir can be consistent and stay strong, they should be, you look at that Tiger Ball Club starters. I mean, their starters are strong. Indians need to have good, solid starts.
Well, they begin the day 3 behind the Tigers in the American League Central Division. Minnesota 6 back. There's ball 4 to Dozier. And right now, let's check in with our buddy Greg Amsinger back at the MLB Network studios for a game break. Greg?
Tom, thank you very much. Let's go to St. Louis. After Alan Craig gave the Cardinals the lead in the first inning, A.J. Przinsky unloads on Shelby Miller. His 7th homer of the year, a 2-run shot. The Rangers now have the lead 2-1. Tom Burt, back to you guys in Cleveland.
Greg, thank you very much. A Texas team. Well, that's going to be some kind of race over there in the American League West. I know a lot of people felt like the Angels would be right in the middle of that whole thing before the season began. And, of course, it has been a rough go for Mike Scioscia's team. 10 games back. Texas 1 behind Oakland going into play today.
How about that Oakland Ball Club? They just keep bringing up young, talented pitchers, and they seem to find ways to win.
Once they get a lead late, again, their bullpen has been so good. Led by Grant Balfour, a perfect 18 out of 18 in save situations this year. That's 36 in a row, going back to May of last year. And now all of a sudden, Santana saying, all right here, Corey, you were given a 6-2 lead in this game. You give up a solo home run, okay. But a 1-out walk, and now 2-0
Well, he's falling behind on a lot of the hitters. He's been able to only get strike one on 8 of the 18 batters he's faced so far. Always a key. Now, Scott Kashmir, who pitched great last night, in his 7 innings, he was ahead of 19 of the 26 batters' first pitch strikes. Just a small key of having success at any level.
Florimon hit a line drive into right center field. Stubbs got a great jump on the ball and reached down around his shins to, it looked like, catch it. And it popped out of there, and Florimon easily coasted into second base, ruled a double.
Twins very high on this young man right here, Pedro Florimon. Good breaking ball down and in. Florimon, 26 years old, in his second season with the Twins, coming over from the Oriole organization. That's that little cutter that Kluber has. They figured if he can hit about 250, 260, they would take that because he's a very good defensive player. He's hit better from this side of the plate than he has as a right-handed hitter, a switch hitter. Pedro Florimon from the Dominican Republic.
Two and two the count. Dozier over at first base. Pretty good lead over there. And a line drive into center field, and Minnesota continues to put good swings on the ball. Dozier will easily advance on to third.
Good base running by Dozier, seeing that ball was going to land to the left of Bourne, a right-handed thrower, so he scoots over to third. Florimon with his second hit. So both clubs banging the ball around the ballpark. Too many walks in the first inning to suit the Twins, but Twins with 7 hits, Indians with 5.
I'm going to try to give Kluber a little break here. Pitching coach Mickey Callaway coming out to chat with his young right-hander. Mentioned this is only the 11th start for Kluber this year. He's pitching 2 games out of the bullpen.
Yeah, only his 23rd major league start, his 28th major league appearance. 7 wins, 9 losses. An ERA about 4.5. And he came into this ball game 2-0 over his last 2 starts, allowing only 1 run in 16 innings.
So now back to the top of the order, and Clete Thomas. He had a very good at bat leading off the game as Hagedorn begins to get loose in the Cleveland bullpen. Thomas singled, scored on the Mauer home run. He struck out in the second inning. Down the left field line and slicing out of play. Strike 1 to Thomas.
Well, you bring your glove to the ballpark, or did he need a glove? He didn't need it.
When you're built like that guy, you don't need one.
Crowd knows it's near. Look at that. Nothing to it.
Got the old school Cavaliers shirt on there. Swing and a miss. The only thing missing from that guy's wardrobe was maybe a pair of Cleveland Brown shorts. He's got the Indians lid, got the Cavs shirt, and somewhere in there he's got to mix in an Ohio State something, and then he'd be officially dialed in. Check swing, and it looked like he went, and he did.
Big strikeout right there for Kluber, picking up his 3rd strikeout, able to get Thomas for the 2nd time. Went back to that little cutter down, and Thomas unable to hold up. John Hirschbeck saying it was strike 3 to home plate umpire.
So now Mauer is a big at bat in this game. Granted, we're only in the 4th inning. But Cleveland with a 3-run lead. Maurer is already homered in the game. His second time up, he hit the ball right on the screws and lined out to deep left center. A ball caught by Michael Bourne. Ball 1.
Such a pure hitter, 3-time batting champ. As a catcher, think about that. I mean, he gets beat up back there. All catchers do. Able to win 3 batting titles, 2006, 2008, 2009. 5-time All-Star, 3-time Gold Glove winner. And by the way, he won the MVP in 2009.
Hard hit ball, but right at the second baseman, Kipnis, and that's all for the Twins. They get a run on the Arcia home run, strand 2, and trail by 3. Hall of Fame provided by Goodyear. Everything Goodyear has learned, making tires that go the distance, inspires what they roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven. Of course, the big exhibit this summer at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, the Rolling Stones. I'm sure that's extremely popular. And looking back at the unbelievable career that band has had.
Yeah, Mick Jagger. I had the opportunity to see them one time in Minnesota many years ago. And what a performance. Unbelievable.
I mean, he's a lot older than you are.
A lot older.
Got about a 28-inch waist.
I double that. And I'm proud of it.
I know you are. 0-1 to Mike Aviles. As Swarzak is starting to trying to bottle up and gobble up some of these innings in relief of Walters, who had to leave after just 2/3 of an inning in the very first inning. That's the kind of at bat he needs. 2-3 pitch at bats to hang around for a while. And the left fielder, Garcia, comes in to get it. 1 out.
Garcia calling off Florimon at the last second. Swarzak 51 pitches so far in relief of Walters.
So now Kipnis, who had a 2-run double to start the 6-run first inning, and then singled into left field his last time up. 2 out of 2 for Kipnis.
You know, in our conversation with Terry Francona this afternoon, talking about Kipnis, he said this guy is a bulldog. You know, he just comes to play day in and day out. See Nick Swisher right there next to Francona.
They're hoping to have Swisher. There was a lot of talk, as that is another base hit for Kipnis. This one down the right field line. This could be 3 bases, because this guy can run. And he's on his way to third. Throw there is not in time, and that is a triple with 1 out for Kipnis.
Well, a 2-run double in the first inning, a base hit in the second, and now a triple here in the fourth. His 3rd triple of the year, right down that first baseline. Parmalee, the right fielder, trying to get over there as quick as he can, and knows that Kipnis, with his speed, will probably try to get the third. Kipnis right there. You decide right there. Can I make it? This looks like he put on a couple extra burners right there and slid safely into third.
That's a good-looking player. Now Michael Brantley 0 for 2 in the game. The infield in for Minnesota with a runner at third and 1 out, and the Twins trailing 6-3 here in the bottom of the fourth. Brantley, of course, his son, a former major leaguer, Mickey Brantley. 1-0 pitch, and he takes it a little bit high.
Yeah, Mickey Brantley, a good outfielder for the Seattle Mariners.
And you know that no one's happier that he's played more games in the major leagues that he himself did than Mickey feels about his son Michael.
Yeah, I mean, you have the opportunity to have your pops play Major League Baseball, and you try to do what he did, you know, play at the highest level. Pretty nice, pretty nice. He came over from the Brewers in the CC Sabathia trade back in 2008, in his 5th season wearing a Indians uniform.
2-1 to Brantley. And it's in the air. Short left field. Don't think Kipnis is going to try it. He won't. Garcia fires right back into the cutoff man, and there are 2 outs in the inning. That's a big out right there for Swarzak. But 1 more to go here in the fourth. So now Santana, he walked and scored in the 6-run first inning, singled in the second inning. And now bats with a runner at third. The infield, of course, with 2 away, backs up. Swarzak, a couple of big, deep breaths before he settles on the rubber to try and get this final out in the inning.
Big swing by Santana right there. 6 home runs as a left-handed hitter, 10 overall. Santana in his 4th season with the Indians, hit 18 home runs last year.
He had a really Jekyll and Hyde season last year, did Santana. 0-1 delivery, and that's a fastball in. He labored out of the gates. He was batting barely over 200, 5 home runs and fewer than 30 RBIs through the 4th of July. Of course, he was slowed down by a concussion in late May. But over the final few months of the season, hit 13 home runs, knocked in 47 over their final 78 games. The expectation so high for this young man after coming over out of the Dodgers organization, and Terry Francona was quick to point out that he's still so young. with a big upside. Now he's taken some hits for perhaps some lapses at time to time behind the plate. But part of the growing curve through all of it.
Yeah, it really is. Can he be an everyday catcher? Terry Francona thinks he can if he just works at his trade a little bit more. Not hitting. Offensively, he's fine. It's behind the plate that sometimes he gets a little lackadaisical. Indians think a lot of him. They signed him to a long-term contract, signed through 2017. And that's what you want to do. You want to lock up some of these young, talented kids like Santana.
Of course, the Indians were one of the ringleaders of that, if you will, going back to those clubs they had in the early to mid and then late 1990s when they would lock up a lot of their young stars, Manny Ramirez, Carlos Baerga, Jim Thome. 3-1 pitch. And it's in the dirt. That's a nice block right there by Mauer. It's ball 4 to Santana, but he keeps a runner standing at third.
Well, you call a breaking ball, you know a breaking ball's coming. You hope that you can catch it in the air. But Joe, again, 3 batting titles, gets beat up back there. Look at Joe right there, smothering that ball. Just keeping it in front of him. Lost it for a second, but it was right underneath him, and he keeps Kipnis at third base. Nice block.
That is the first walk issued by Swarzak since he came into the game. After Walters walked 5 of the first 9 he hit a batter.
Terry Steinbach right there to the left of manager Ron Gardenhire, the new bench coach here in Minnesota. Well, Swarzak's strikeout you mentioned earlier, only 1 walk, 1 strikeout, that being Mark Reynolds in his last at bat. Another pitch smothered by Mauer.
Reynolds struck out with a runner at third and only 1 out in that second inning. Now he has him on the corners with 2 out. Ball strike. Well, this year Fox Sports Supports is proud to partner with Stomp Out Bullying, the leading national anti-bullying organization for kids and teens in the U.S. Stomp Out Bullying focuses on preventing bullying and all forms of digital abuse. It helps at-risk students. To learn more how you can help, please visit stompoutbullying.org. 1-1 to Reynolds. Runners at first and third. 1-2.
Good heart-breaking ball there. Swarzak struck out Reynolds a couple innings ago on a good fastball. This to get strike 2 on the breaking ball.
Started 2, they appeal. He did not go around, says Eric Cooper.
Yeah, 94-mile-an-hour fastball. Reynolds, hitters have to have strong wrists to be able to do that. As strong as Reynolds is to be able to commit and then hold up at the last second.
Kipnis with a 1-out triple stands at third with 2 outs. Santana, the runner, over at first, held on by Morneau. Strike 3 called, and that's all for the Indians in the 4th. We go to the 5th. Cleveland 6, Minnesota 3. Hardware. Alongside the Hall of Famer Bert Blyleven, Tom Brenneman, our entire Fox Sports crew here in Cleveland, Ohio. 2 in the Minnesota first inning, 6 in the Cleveland first inning. Minnesota got a run back on Oswaldo Arcia's home run.
And we're already in the 5th inning.
We are rolling right along,
we are
big
rolling
man.
now.
I mean, I have the distinct honor and pleasure of sitting next to the Hall of Famer here tonight. And heck, you and I are going to be like
we're going to be pen pals after this.
Long-time friends before we reach even the 7th inning tonight.
Well, Corey Kluber starting his 5th inning of work. It has not been a picnic for him. He's hit some. The Twins have hit some balls hard. They've had 6 hits, a couple home runs.
A roller down to first base. 1 out. You know, I said to you when we were just hanging around, my new buddy here is Bert Blyleven. Come on. You know, in all sincerity, I said to you about having never had a chance, except to meet you from time to time, but I know everybody in baseball was so excited when you finally got that phone call that you were going to be inducted into baseball's Hall of Fame. The numbers you put up in your career, and to think you waited as long as you did, I'm not going to ask you to comment on that. That's neither here nor there. But I know for a lot of us to finally be able to see you face to face and say congratulations, because you earned it.
Well, thank you. It's a great honor. I'm looking forward already to the end of July to go back and be part of the ceremonies. You know, we're going to induct some players there, even though they will not be there. Family members will be there. We have Deacon White, who played in the late 1800s as a player. We have the
umpire you put in. That's right.
Yeah, I'm going to think of his name here. Hank O'Day, the umpire, and also Jacob Rupert, the owner of the Yankees, that actually bought Babe Ruth from the Boston Red Sox and made him a Yankee. So all their family members will be there. And we're also going to honor some of the players that were inducted during the World War II era that maybe didn't get the recognition. So we're looking forward to that. Should be a lot of fun. A lot of Hall of Famers are still going to be there. A lot of people say, you know, well, since there's not a current day Hall of Fame player going in, you know, a lot of the Hall of Famers are going to show up. As far as I know, most of them will. I had the great honor last year. Of course, 2 years ago I was inducted. Last year I got to sit on stage, and we sit on stage and listen to, like, Ron Santo's wife, you know, go through her speech for Ron. And I'm so happy that Ron Santo made the Hall of Fame. But I got to sit next to Sandy Koufax, my boyhood hero.
How cool was that?
Oh, it's great.
Nice play down there at first by Reynolds.
What a nice man, too.
Threw away in the inning.
Yeah, Reynolds made a nice play right there. And as a pitcher, your responsibility, get over there and field your position. That's cover first base. Reynolds diving to his right. And Kluber there. I always liked as a pitcher to my first baseman, go to your right. I will get there. Might be a little slow, but I will get there. Chug, chug, chug.
You know, you were talking about, growing up in Anaheim, California, virtually in the shadow of the Big A, where it still stands even now at an Angel Stadium, and how you used to sneak into the ballpark with all your buddies, and after the place would clear out, and you'd pretend you were playing in the big leagues. And I mean, you were doing this well into your teenage years, and then a year later, you're on the mound making your major league debut in that ballpark.
With the lights on. We did it in the dark as kids. But with the lights on, and I swear the first pitch, I looked at George Metterwall, my catcher. He put down fastball. I started my delivery. My right foot would not move off of that pitching rubber. I couldn't get it to turn. It was frozen. I was so nervous with the lights on. I'm afraid somebody might see me.
There's a pop-up in the short right field, and to end that story, you won that game in the big league debut.
Got lucky. Yeah, got to be lucky.
You got lucky, 287 more times? new roads.
Well, Anthony Swarzak worked 3 1/3 innings. He ended up throwing 67 pitches. So the staff right now between Walters and Swarzak, 113 pitches. Ryan Presley coming into the ballgame in his rookie season for the Twins. He's had good numbers out of that bullpen.
Well, you mentioned earlier that has certainly been the strong suit for Ron Gardenhire's team. Now, they've been asked to pitch a lot of innings. You brought up earlier, just until recently, they weren't getting a lot of innings out of their starters, so they were leaning very heavily upon that bullpen, and those guys responded.
Yeah, this has really been an odd start. It's an odd start for P.J. Walters. He's pitched so well in the first 5 starts, and then he had a hiccup here today, but you're going to have that in the game. There's P.J. Walters, 2/3 of an inning. The 5 walks, 6 runs, and Swarzak did everything he could. He did give up 5 hits, but put the zeros on the board. And Presley comes in and walks the first batter he faces. Presley came into this ballgame 31 innings, 24 hits allowed, 12 walks, 24 strikeouts.
We saw that look almost of pain on the face of Ron Gardenhire after watching his starter walk 5, hit a batter. Now, Swarzak did a nice job, as you mentioned, only the 1 walk in 3 1/3, but then you bring in Presley and another walk. So that's 7 walks and a hit batsman.
That's what started the bottom of the first inning by walking Bourne, and then it just multiplied after that.
That ball hit hard into left center field. That is up against the wall off the bat of Chisenhall. And he'll coast in with a double. And on to third goes Giambi. Lonnie Chisenhall, his second hit. I'd like to remind you, Chevrolet, the official vehicle of Major League Baseball, is celebrating a new season for new memories. For your chance to win a community field makeover and an all-new 2014 Impala, visit ChevyBaseball.com. Now the Indians, after getting 6 runs on just 2 hits in the first, they've been shut out over the last 3 1/3 innings.
You know, here at Progressive Field, the visiting bullpen is kind of down the right field corner. It's surrounded by cement. They used to have this in Kansas City. That it was very close, compact cement. You go down there and you start throwing with all the cement. You think you're throwing about 100 miles an hour. All of a sudden you come out of there and the field opens up. And I felt the same way in Kansas City. I had to go out there and lower my hat so I wouldn't look at everything because of that bullpen area. You talked earlier about, home field advantage, and you see the Twins or the Tribes bullpen, the Indians bullpen, a little more open to where they don't feel that they're kind of, compressed.
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting.
And it's surrounded by cement, so believe me, when you warm up there, you may be throwing 85, 90, and you feel like you're throwing 110. And the high ceilings, and there's the Indians bullpen, a little more open, a little more light. It may not be anything, but I noticed it in Kansas City my first time now. They've changed the bullpens in Kansas City. I'm talking about the way it used to be at Kauffman Stadium back in the 70s.
Presley's come out of that bullpen. He walked a batter on 4 pitches, then allows a double. And now 2-1 to Drew Stubbs. 2-2.
Well, Presley only 24 years old. A Rule 5 draft by the Twins out of the Boston organization. A guy that was mainly a starter in their system. And then they put him in that bullpen, and that's kind of where he shined. A young man that they see as a potential starter maybe one day, but right now doing a good job as kind of a long man, setup man out of that bullpen.
And a lot of organizations and a lot of managers like easing a guy into the big leagues that they may want to have as a starter down the road and pitch him out of the bullpen. There have been some great pitchers in this game, starting pitchers in this game, that began their careers pitching at the major league level out of the bullpen.
The Twins have done that a lot. One guy was another Rule 5 player, Johan Santana. Started in the bullpen. They had to keep him all year long. Next year he went down. He learned the changeup from the bullpen coach, Bobby Cuellar, who's the assistant pitching coach here, and came up and won 2 Cy Young Awards. So, yes, it does happen.
Well, Pedro Martinez was another pitcher who began his career pitching out of the Dodger bullpen.
They just want you to get your feet wet and see how you react to the bullpen, and also your arm strength. Are you strong enough arm-wise to go deep into a ball game?
And that one is dropped into right field, a base hit. They're going to hold the second runner as Giambi scores. Chisenhall stopped by Brad Mills down there at third. And that makes it a 7-3 Cleveland lead as Stubbs drives in his 23rd run of the year.
I'll tell you what, that's look from here, pretty good pitch right there, but Stubbs went down and just kind of inside out of that ball. We saw it earlier in the ball game when Kipnis hit a pretty good pitch the other way for that double in the first inning. Let's take a look at the pitch. That kind of stayed up a little bit. Stubbs just went with it. I thought that ball was down from our angle here. I thought it was down a little bit more. But Stubbs does pick up his first hit. And for the Indians, their 8th hit of the ball game.
Runners on the corners, nobody out. And here's Michael Bourne already stepping up there for the 4th time tonight. And we are only in the bottom of the 5th inning. Bourne has walked, scored at a 2-run single, and lined softly into a double play with a runner on the move, ending the 3rd.
Took Bourne a long time to sign. He did not sign with the Indians until the middle of February. Ended up signing a 4-year contract with the Indians. Guy that's a .272 career hitter coming into this year. Tremendous speed. Almost 300 stolen bases at the major league level.
And that one hooked into right field. That'll be a base hit for Bourne. And scoring from third is Chisenhall. 2 runs home here into Cleveland 5th, and the Tribe leads 8-3.
Well, Bourne picks up his 3rd RBI of the ball game with that base hit. And young Ryan Presley having a tough time getting it out. Indians came into this ball game 8th in the American League in hitting at .253.
So now Aviles. The runners at first and second, and nobody out. Aviles hit by a pitch, scored a run. 0 for 2 is bounced to first and popped up to left. Double play ball here all the way if the Twins turn it, and they do that very well. In fact, the Twins have turned now 82. They get 83 double plays, including the 2 tonight. That's the most among all teams in the American League.
Well, that's good and bad. That just means you have a lot of base runners on. But it also says that your pitchers are getting some ground ball outs. So that's a big double play right there.
Well, we're only in the 5th. I bring that up because Kipnis has already had a double. He's had a single. He's had a triple. So you know what that means.
And that's one thing that Presley has done a good job of. He has not allowed a home run yet in his rookie season, covering 32 innings.
They say 7 Indians have hit for the cycle. Travis Hafner, of all players, the last to do it in 03. And I only say Hafner because he was not known as a burner. He would be the last guy in the world I would pick to deliver a triple.
I wonder what outfielder broke their leg for him to make it to third. And I believe he did that against the Twins, I believe it was at the Metrodome. So it just kind of.
So you couldn't kick your buddy Brunansky in front of the bus on them because we know it wasn't him.
It's probably Dan Gladden. Let's blame Gladden.
That's a real good idea. 2-1 to Kipnis. Well, now I thought you said you liked Michael Kadire. I mean, could it be him? No way it's Kadire, right?
Well, may have been. Well, Kadire was moving around from station to station, position to position for a long time. He ended up settling up in right field. Probably hit high off the baggie and then ricocheted either left or right.
All right, we're going to show you August the 14th, 2003 at the Dome in Minneapolis. Sit tight. 2-2. There's ball 3. All right, in the second inning, Travis Hafner, home run. Doubled in the 4th, singled in the 7th. This is the triple in the 8th. He could have gone in standing up.
I wonder who the outfielders were. That ball looked like it was smoked into right center.
It was.
Why that ball wasn't retrieved back quicker. But you know, that stadium, it had that soft fence, so it could have, ricocheted left or right. I'm going to guess it ricocheted.
Breaking ball is ball 4. So they're on the corners with 2 outs. And the inning will continue for the left fielder, Michael Brantley. This is really what Cleveland has done to teams in this ballpark all year long. I mean, if they could find a way, and of course it's a recipe that has been the story for a lot of teams in Major League Baseball. For whatever reason, they are great at home. And then they go on the road, and they don't even remind you of the same team. In fact, we saw Cleveland earlier this year when they played their regular home-and-home series against Cincinnati. Well, they go down to Cincinnati to play a very good Reds team, and they just get dominated for 2 days. The next 2 days, they come up here, and, I mean, there were guys that were running out of gas because they were running the bases so often.
You know, they say in baseball, if you can have a .500 record on the road and win at home, you're going to be in the race.
And for whatever reason, the 5th inning has been a magical ride all year, home or the road, for the Twins. They have scored more runs in this inning, the 5th, 71 of them, including the 2 here tonight, than any team in that inning in baseball. Of course, it helps when you hit 2-0 counts. And that's what Brantley has right now. Runner goes and no throw down to second base. That'll be a steal for Kipnis. And that is 17 of them.
Yeah, that's one thing that Terry Francona talked about, too. He's not a base stealer, but he steals at the right time. He knows when to go. 17 stolen bases in 22 attempts for Jason Kipnis.
2-1 to Brantley. And on the ground is second. This should do it. And it will. But a scoring inning, a pair of them in the 5th for Cleveland. Drive in front. 8-3 as we head for the 6th. ball game. Of course, going on over the weekend, give it a little bit of taste. Cleveland. Now, how about this Italian sausage? Pulled pork, coleslaw, grilled peppers and onions, or what about the Cleveland dog there, Bertful? I love it on a sausage roll. Pork and the slaw.
I've been sitting here for 2.5 hours. I'm already hungry again. In a sausage race here. It's a hot dog race. Oh, look at that.
Well, that's a pretty nasty move by Ketchup
that's
there.
That's bullying, isn't it?
Well, especially a young lady.
A lot of bullying going on.
Well, there is. And then onion justice is served. All right, Corey Kluber. Still out there. He's allowed 3 runs, 7 hits. There have been a lot of hard hit balls against this Cleveland right-hander tonight, but the bottom line is he's out there in the 6th, coming off his first perfect inning of the game.
Yeah, he's retired 5 straight, so settling down a little bit. Garcia hitting a home run, his 6th of the year, leading off the 4th inning against Kluber.
And he fouls it off and out of play. Been a real good night in the field and at the plate. Garcia's made a couple of nice plays out there in left, and then he hit that home run to left center that Bird mentioned in the 4th. That's 6 of them.
Garcia, 22 years old, from Venezuela, signed by the Twins in 2007, and a strikeout victim here. Kelly Kluber picks up his 4th strikeout.
So, Bert, let me ask you, because you are so familiar, and obviously our game is on in the Twin Cities tonight, in the entire state of Minnesota. You know, when you start to look at all these young players that Ron Gardenhire was talking about, these guys that are coming up, and we asked him, you know, are you sort of pushing the envelope on that? And he said, look, we feel like if a guy can really handle the league he is in, whatever league that is, then we're going to move him up. It's been the philosophy of the organization, and already it's taken place with a number of their young players this year. Do you suspect that you see some of those guys before this year is over?
I think a lot depends on, you know, how they're doing as they move up the ladder, and, you know, are they succeeding at their next step? And then maybe in September you're going to see some of these young kids get an opportunity to maybe, you know, get their feet wet going into spring training next year. Last couple years in Minnesota for Twin fans was frustrating. This year I don't think it is as frustrating because Terry Ryan went out and he tried to improve the pitching staff. You had to give up something. They gave up Ben Revere. They gave up Denard Span. They gave up that leadoff hitter that they're looking for now. But I think in a long run, and I'm talking maybe next year, following year, if the pitchers can get back to healthy, they have a Kyle Gibson down in AAA that's been pitching pretty well. They need a couple horses. They need a couple aces. Right now, Kevin Correa is the ace of the staff. He's the one that has been the most consistent. So if they can do that, and then the young talented kids like Garcia getting his feet wet here can have success and continue, then I think the organization's moving back the way that they did, say, in the early 2000s under Ron Gardenhire when he first took over.
That ball hit hard down the left field line. That will roll all the way to the wall off the bat of Chris Parmelee. And he's in with a stand-up double, 1 out. This team down by 5, batting here in the 6th.
Well, with Garcia coming up, it's kind of put Parmelee on the bench. And talking to Gardy this afternoon, that's one thing he wanted to do is get Chris Parmelee some at-bats. They're going into Miami on Tuesday and Wednesday where, you know, the pitchers have to hit. So they use Parmelee basically as a pinch hitter. He wants to get him at bats, and that's why Parmelee is in the lineup today. And also giving Josh Willingham a day off because of that knee with a day game tomorrow. Parmelee with that double is 8th of the year.
So now Brian Dozier, who's lined out to left and drawn a walk. Dozier's homered in 4 of the last 5, including 3 straight.
I mean, Tom, here's Brian Dozier. He was a shortstop. Like Trevor Plouffe, who's now playing third, Brian Dozier came up through the organization as shortstop. He moved to second base in spring training, and he's done a very good job there, as Plouffe has at third. So Gardy's trying to do the best he can with what he's given. And then, hopefully these young kids can come in and fill some of the spots that they feel they need filled.
1-1 on Dozier with a runner Parmalee out at second base. Good breaking ball there. Well, that's a beauty from Kluber on a 1-1 pitch.
Let's take a look at the break on that pitch. Good tight rotation. That's what you saw on that breaking ball. Adam Wainwright, to me, nasty.
Boy.
Nasty breaking ball. Another breaking ball, but down.
Of course, you were the guy that was known as having one of the great breaking balls in the history of the game.
Well, and that's what I look at, the tight rotation. Does it look like a fastball coming out and then just dropping? And that's how I learned my curveball, watching Koufax and listening to Vin Scully describe Koufax's drop off of that pyramid of a mound that they had in the 60s. I mean, a pyramid. But it is actually a drop, and that's what Kluber's curveball looked good, tight rotation.
He left that one up in the strike zone, and Dozier fouled it back.
But you know what? If you keep that curveball down, you change the eye level of that hitter. And even though he just missed he threw one curveball, then he missed with another one. The ball's breaking down, and then the fastball up. The hitter has to adjust. So that's pitching. 96 pitches so far. 60 strikes.
1 on, 1 out, and Dozier waiting. Long look back at second base, a second look. When he nearly caught the inside edge, coming back with a curveball again.
Where you start that curveball at the hitter, and you watch Dozier's reaction. Now you have a 5-run lead. It's almost a fastball situation. And Dozier fouled it off. Even if you have a good curveball, you don't want to walk anybody right here to create a bigger inning. It's a 1-out double by Parmalee. You walk somebody, now you're asking for trouble. Here it is. Make him earn his way on. And that being Brian Dozier.
Back-to-back fastballs and back-to-back foul balls off the bat of Dozier. You can see Kluber still rushing it up there pretty good. That's 94 miles an hour as he knocks on the door, the 100 pitch mark tonight. Minnesota looking for its first hit with a runner in scoring position in this series. 0 for 9 so far. Soft liner caught by Chisenhall. And he finally came, it looked like, with that 3-2 breaking ball.
And that's a nice play by Chisenhall right there, having to go to his right, leaping and making a nice catch. Dozier a little out front of that breaking ball, makes good contact, thinking it might be a double down the line, but Chisenhall reaching up high and then throwing the ball to second base. But Parmalee gets back.
Well, that's going to do it for Kluber. Terry Francona is going to come get him. Hagedorn will come on from the bullpen. We're in the 6th. Cleveland leading 8-3. far 3 runs. He is responsible for Parmalee, who's a runner at second base, and now they'll bring on the big, tall left-hander out of their bullpen, Nick Hagedorn.
Yeah, Kluber, I thought he pitched well. He gave up the 2-run home run to Mauer in the first. Indians put 6 on the board, and then he allowed 1 run, a home run in the fourth. That was it. Maybe not as good as his last 2 starts, but he's got a chance to pick up a win here. And those are his numbers over the last 3 starts. 15 strikeouts in 21 1/3 innings.
Third stint of the year for this Cleveland left-hander. Threw the ball very well down to AAA Columbus. He keeps coming back up and forth. Very tough against the left-handers. But a struggle after a very good start to this season. Struggled of late since being brought back up.
Hagedorn in his 3rd season with the Indians. Out of the University of Washington. Former Boston's #1 pick back in 2007. Traded over in the Victor Martinez trade in 2009.
And that's all. That's strike 3. And we're off to the bottom of the 6th, 8-3 Indians.
Bert, back to you in Cleveland.
All right, Greg, thank you very, very much. Bottom of the 6th inning. It is the Indians coming to bat. Presley still on the mound. And he misses up and away, ball 1.
That's why that Detroit club is going to be tough to beat, because of a guy like Max Scherzer. You see the guys that are undefeated so far. Clay Buchholz currently on a disabled list. Patrick Corbin having an outstanding year. You have Verlander, you have Sanibel, Sanchez, you have Pfister, you have Porcello, who's got beat up last time out, but then you got Scherzer. 5 solid starters for the Tigers.
Hope our cameraman down there, Dale Converse. You all right down there, Dale? You got hit with a line drive, didn't you?
Thumbs up.
I think I got him on the left arm. Looked like it from here anyway. Maybe he's already swelling up pretty good. You all right? Okay. Thank goodness for that. Now you're down there in the firing zone. Of course, Dale has got that camera pointed out towards the infield, towards the outfield. And there you get a look, a rocket that comes right at you, and you're not even looking that way.
Yeah, like you said, hopefully he's all right.
2-2 on Santana. Line drive down the left field line. That'll fall in. Over to cut it off. Garcia is throw into second base, and they got it. Told you the Twins lead the outfield and the major leagues in outfield assist. And they get another one right there on a fine play. First of all, to cut it off. And then a good throw by Garcia.
Well, one thing, when Garcia was sent down, the Twins wanted him to work on his defense. Thought that maybe he was thinking too much offense, but what a throw right there. Quick tag by Dozier, and Santana trying to stretch that single into a double. Gets caught. Wow. What a great throw. Quick tag. Santana credited with a base hit and then a 7-4 put out.
So now Mark Reynolds, who has walked, scored, struck out twice since. Straight up in the air. And the center fielder Thomas will call off the shortstop Florimon, and that's out number 2. Of course, the All-Star game right here on Fox, coming your way from New York, July the 16th. Very much looking forward to that and all the pageantry that surrounds it. Pulled into right field, a base hit by Giambi. Been on base 3 times tonight. A pair of walks, pair of runs, scored an RBI, now a single.
Yeah, the 42-year-old will probably need about a week off. He can still hit. Giambi came into this year, his 19th season, a .280 career hitter with all that power. .11 hits for the Indians. Chisenhall with 2 of the 11 hits.
Chisenhall, his last time up, that double into left center field and scored in the 2-run 5th. One on, 2 out. And that one gets through the catcher, Mauer. And advancing on to second, Giambi.
That looked like a breaking ball that just got underneath the glove of Joe and went to the backstop. See if this ball skips right here, maybe off the plate. Exactly what it did, stayed down and underneath the glove. You expect that ball to come up. So a wild pitch will be charged to Presley, his 4th wild pitch.
And this should end the inning. Thomas broke back, now comes in to get it short left center, and that's all. Couple of hits, a man left. We go to the 7th.
We're
Indians
rolling,
by 5.
baby. We're rolling.
We welcome you back to Cleveland, Ohio. The home team with an 8-3 lead as Minnesota, the road team, bats in the top of the 7th inning. Top of the order. Hagedorn in relief of Corey Kluber goes 5 2/3, allows 8 hits, 3 runs earned. That's good old country hardball right there. 0-2 on Thomas. Single leading off the game. Scored on the Joe Mauer home run in the first inning. And has since struck out swinging twice. This guy can cut it loose.
Yeah, Hagedorn straight over the top at 6'5". Delivery where he just picks up that right foot and puts it straight down and then creates that angle. That breaking ball missing low. Santana blocks it.
8 runs, 11 hits, no errors for the Indians. Minnesota 3 runs, 8 hits, and no errors. The first game on this homestand. It's been a very good homestand for the Indians in which they've collected 10 or more hits in a game. One swung on and fouled back. Indians have won 7 of their last 9. We talked about what a streaky team this has been. And not streaky in terms of win 5, lose 4, win 7, lose 6. It's been really in month-long chunks where they had a great run early.
8-game losing streak
right.
they're on.
That was on the heels of a real long extended run of good play where they got into first place in the Central Division. And then the wheels fell off when they went the second go-round inside the American League East. And now starting to pick it up, play a little better again.
Well, it's a roller coaster ride. I don't care if you're a first place club or a last place club. You're going to have ups and downs. If you have to stay away from that long losing streak, you know, the wins will come, but stay away from the long losing streaks. Twins had a 10-game losing streak earlier this year.
That one whacked into right field off the bat of Thomas, and that'll be a double to start this 7th inning.
Well, Thomas with his 3rd double for the Twins. Hagedorn fell behind, got ahead 0-2, and then tried to sneak pitches by him, and then finally on a 3-2 pitch went with a fastball, and Thomas hit it down to that right field corner. That might have been a breaking ball.
And you get a look really almost in a microcosm of probably what the Red Sox saw a lot of in Hagedorn in just that last at bat. 95 fastball, strike 1. 97 fastball, strike 2. Miss on 3 in a row, and then you give up a double down the right field line after being in front of a hitter 0-2.
You don't see a lot of movement on his pitches. Pretty straight, and I don't care if you could throw 100 miles an hour. If it's straight at the major league level, they're going to hit it. They're going to hit it hard somewhere.
Mauer, the 2-run home run, his 8th of the year. It came in the first inning. Has since lined to center and bounced out to second. We've talked so much about that All-Star game coming up on Fox next month, and you know Mauer will be in that game. He's a leading vote getter. So if that holds true, he's definitely in. But even if he doesn't win the fan balloting, he will be in New York.
That'll be his 6th All-Star appearance. This is his 10th season with the Twins. The All-Star game in New York this year, in Minnesota next year.
2-1 delivery. 3 balls and a strike. Well, the Indians are going to start some action in their bullpen. They're not going to have a chance to wait around on Hagedorn to throw strikes. As Cody Allen, boy, has he been impressive. Starts to get loose in the Cleveland pen. 3-1 on Mauer. Full count. Domit, the DH, waits in the on-deck circle. And there's a walk. Of course, the last time they had the All-Star game in Cleveland was 1997. Do you remember?
1 on, 2 out. Go ahead run at second for Alamo. Into left center field. Hometown hero, goodbye. Get the curtain call. There you go.
Sandy Alomar Jr., that 2-run home run, propelling the American League to a 3-1 win. Alomar named the MVP. And first player ever to win the award in his home ballpark for an All-Star game.
Awesome. He was a good player. Part of the Indians Hall of Fame. Now the bench coach here for Terry Francona.
Many believe he will get a chance someday, whether it's here or elsewhere, to manage at the big league level.
Well, Mickey Callaway, the pitching coach, going out to talk to his tall lefty. Domit, a switch hitter, is a right-handed hitter, hitting .261. 1 home run from this side of the plate of his 8.
One big crack of the bat, and the Twins are right back in this game. He waved through ball 1.
Well, Domit's been picking up some RBIs. 18 of them over the last 23 games he's been in.
Yeah, he's been red hot the entire month of June. I mean, he started the month off. He had a walk-off base hit in Seattle the first day of June. As he takes low and away, 3 days later, knocked in 2 of Minnesota's 3 runs in a win over Kansas City. Then later in the week, that 11th inning home run to beat Washington. Then earlier this week, a game-winning double in their sweep over Chicago. Looking for something to drive here on 2 balls and a strike with 2 on and none out. And it's lined into center field, but that's a loud out. Get ready for Fox Sports 1. It'll be America's new 24-hour sports network. Fox Sports 1 will be your home for great live sports, all the news and highlights you could want, shows and specials that only Fox can bring you. And this is our Fox Sports 1 game summary. Kipnis a home run shy of batting for the cycle. 8 of the 9 starters have reached base safely for Cleveland tonight. Joe Mauer a home run in the first inning. And really the story of this game was the bottom of the first inning, where P.J. Walters could just not find the strike zone. Faced 9 batters. He hit 1 of them and walked 5 of them.
You know, there's been 7 walks for the staff. Walters and Anthony Swarzak and then Ryan Presley. Total of 7. And that hit batter. 6 of those 8 base runners have scored.
So now Morneau, 1 of 3 in the game. 1 hopper. This could be 2. There's 1. Return throw, and the pitcher didn't get over there in time. Don't think they would have had it anyway. So 2 are out, and runners are at first and third for Plouffe, who's coming up.
Yeah, right off the end of the bat. Probably sounded like he cracked his bat. Reynolds gets the force out at second on a low throw. And Hagginen a little slow getting over there. And you're right, I don't believe that they would have been able to turn it, but that does bring out manager Terry Francona for a pitching change.
And Mr. Allen's coming on from the bullpen. Will step out. We're in the 7th. Making tires that go the distance inspires what they roll into yours. Goodyear, more driven. There are a lot of good-looking young pitchers around Major League Baseball, and you're about to get a look at one of them right here and right now.
Yeah, Cody Allen coming out, making his 30th relief appearance, and he has been outstanding. Good fastball, got some movement on that fastball. Hard curveball and the changeup in his second season with the Indians. He's worked 31 innings. He's allowed only 21 hits, 10 walks, 39 strikeouts.
96-mile-per-hour fastball is ball one to Plouffe, who has an infield hit, is struck out and flied to right.
Paints the corner with a 97-mile-an-hour fastball.
Thomas began the inning with a double. He stands at third. Morneau over at first. 2 are out. And a line drive, base hit into center field by Plouffe will knock in a run. And that makes it an 8-4 ball game.
Yeah, Plouffe picking up his second hit of the ball game, driving in his 24th run of the year. Twins have been down so many games this year. We showed you earlier how many the deficit between runs in the first inning for the opponent and for the Twins. And they've had to do this almost all season long. Come back from 2, 3, 4 run deficits. So they've been here before. And that man's been here before.
He made the comment before the game. He said, I need to start seeing some of my players, whether they be veteran guys or whether they be middle of the order guys or whether they be young guys, start getting base hits when runners are on base. And that is their first hit in the first 2 games of this series, with a runner in scoring position on what was their 14th chance. I see a home run to left center field in the 4th inning. It's a ball and a strike. Well, he clobbered this ball.
Boy, sure did. It almost straight away center, getting it into the seats. Coming off of Corey Kluber in the 4th inning, his 6th home run of the year. I know they honored Carlos Baerga before the ball game, put into the Cleveland Hall of Fame, but when I saw this young man Arcia come up for the first time, he reminded me a lot of Baerga. Now, Baerga was not as big and stocky, but he's got a nice swing. Twins are very high on this young 22-year-old.
Allen is coming on, and he's having a tough time. He's fallen behind a couple of batters. Allowed the RBI single by Plouffe, and now 3-1 on Arcia. Well, he had a good cut right there and fouled it back. Allen looking for the final strike, the final out of this Minnesota 7th inning. Indians leading by 4, and now the payoff pitch. We'll do it again.
Allen last year started the season in Single A, moved up to Double A, moved up to Triple A, and then to the big leagues all in 1 year. Pretty cool.
That's when you know you're a player on the move.
27 appearances last year for the Indians.
3-2 once more. Struck him out on, looked like this, a high breaking ball. Minnesota gets a run on a single by Plouffe. They stand and stretch. 8-4 Cleveland. Major League Baseball since 1997. And by Bud Light Lime, Lime-A-Rita, and introducing a new Strawberry. We begin the bottom of the 7th inning. Cleveland in front 8-4, trying to make it back-to-back wins over their division rival Minnesota Twins in this series. Stubbs, Bourne, and Aviles against Ryan Presley, who begins his 3rd inning of work after 3 1/3 innings of relief work from Swarzak. Nice play down there at first, and they get the speedy Stubbs, 1 out.
That's a nice play. You didn't know whether to charge it. Justin didn't know where to charge it or play back. And anytime you go back like that, there's always that chance of that ball eating you up. Right there, he played back, but able to quick hands. Former hockey goalie able to snare that ball and then flip it over to Presley, covering the bag for the first out.
So now Bourne, who has walked, had a 2-run single in the same inning. That was the first inning. Lined into a double play in the 3rd and added another run batted in with a single to right in the 5th. Bourne, who had knocked in 11 runs all year, has 3 tonight. And that one scoots by Dozier. And that'll be a 3rd hit tonight for Bourne. 4th time he's been on base. And that'll bring Mike Aviles to the plate. Now, we all traveled to Aviles. We were talking about him earlier, coming up with Kansas City and Boston. So 3 things you need to know about Aviles. Studied behavioral science at Concordia College. He had to tell his mom to calm down at his Little League game, for crying out loud. His Uncle Ramon played in the big leagues for the Red Sox and the Phillies. This young man coming out of high school, born in New York, he did not have a single Division I baseball scholarship offer. So, went to a small college and predicted as he walked in the door as a freshman at Concordia that he would take an upperclassman starting shortstop job. He did, and wound up being the Division I Player of the Year out of Concordia in 2003. Best player in all Division II.
You know, we just had the Major League draft, and I think that's the hardest thing. My son Todd scouted for 7 years, and, you know, I sat and talked to him about trying to find these high school, college kids, and there's so many different players out there. Once that draft comes up, scouts sometimes don't get enough recognition for finding guys like, you know, Avila that, you know, maybe wasn't highly recruited out of high school, but he had something inside his heart that wanted to get better, and he was able to do that. Just get better and better. And, you know, you could draft a number 1 pick, but does he have it in the heart to succeed? A lot of number 1 picks never made it up to the big leagues.
Well, the other part you hear so much about, and the part that I find a little troublesome, and no one would know this better than you because of the position in which you played in the major leagues. I think the part that becomes sometimes dispiriting for the high school pitcher or the college pitcher is, you know, if you're not 6'3", 6'4", 6'5" anymore, as this should be a double play to end the inning. We'll get back to this in a moment. But they're all looking for the guy that's 220, 230 pounds.
Hey, that's me now. Add 220, another 20. I think I'm making a comeback, Tommy.
Out of Cody Allen, and now they'll hand the ball to another right-hander out of their bullpen, having a very good season, trying to protect this 8-4 lead as we go to the 8th, and that's Brian Shaw.
Yeah, Shaw, this guy has pretty good stuff right here. You can see the numbers, making his 30th appearance, just like Cody Allen. 3.15 earned run average for Shaw, 34 1/3 innings pitched.
So he'll be facing Parmalee to begin the inning. Latter third. We've only had 1-1-2-3 inning through 7 innings of baseball tonight, and that was the Minnesota 5th when the starter Corey Kluber went through Domet, Morneau, and Pluth. 1-2-3. That's all. 12 hits for the Indians, 10 hits for Minnesota. Indians have also drawn what?
7 walks.
8 walks in it. 5 by Walters, 1 by Swarzback, and 2 by Presley in his first inning of work. This one in the air to right. And Stubbs will watch it fly out of here as Parmalee adds a second hit of the game. That's his 6th home run. And now all of a sudden a 3-run ball game in the 8th inning.
Well, we just talked about Parmley in his last at-bat that Ron Gardenhire wanted him to get him some at-bats. And, his first 2 at-bats, 0 for 2. A double in the 6th. And it looked like an off-speed pitch that Parmley went down, got an uppercut swing. 8-5 ball game.
Dozier 0 for 2. He is the only Minnesota Twin outside of Doman who has not collected a base hit tonight. 2-0. The only Indian without a hit is Michael Brantley.
Well, that home run allowed by Shaw, his 3rd in 35 innings pitched in his first season with the Indians.
Now, he was in that big 3-way deal we referred to earlier, which brought Drew Stubbs. I mean, they had moving parts going everywhere. Shaw came from Arizona to Cleveland. Stubbs, Cincinnati to Cleveland. Chu, Cleveland to Cincinnati. Well, you had multiple players working around the 3 teams involved in that deal.
I know you do Cincinnati. Jason Donald, is he with the
down
club?
in the minor leagues?
He's down in the minor leagues. Well, I thought he was going to be a good out of Arizona, University of Arizona. Well, he's a second baseman. Tough to fill that spot, second base.
That would be a tough spot to get. There aren't many spots, I think, in baseball. Of course, you don't want to bring that name up here in Cleveland because that is still a very touchy topic about all that went down with Brandon Phillips here while he's no longer here. Fox Sports 1 is America's new 24-hour sports network. Your home to great live sports, news and highlights, all the shows. America's new sports network is Fox Sports 1, coming August the 17th.
So tell me more about Brandon Phillips then, since we're sitting above Cleveland here. We're sitting up high. Oh, he's a great player.
Oh, boy, is he ever in their strike. Of course, for whatever reason, and he admitted, Phillips has admitted that, he did not get off on the right foot with Eric Wedge, a former manager.
It
here
happens.
In Cleveland. It does happen. And now Shaw hits. Well, or did he? Flormone is saying he got hit. The umpire, I'm not sure, is buying it.
I think John Hirschbeck right away said foul ball, foul ball. Ron Gardenhire is going to come out. He gives the bat to Flormone.
Well, there's not much you can say about it. Umpire makes a call like that, and it is what it is.
Well, the pitch inside to Flormone as we take a listen.
On the very next pitch, he got a foul piece. I'm sorry, it's still 0-2 on Flormone.
The knob on that barrel of the bat, a lot of hitters will put their pinky finger over the barrel, and that's maybe what happened. Is, a lot of guys, let's see if Flormone does that. He's at the knob. So that John Hirschbeck must have thought it hit the knob of the bat.
Of course, maybe it's down on the knob of the bat now because it hurts too bad to wrap it around the bottom.
He's got tape on that knob.
Pretty good fastball right there, but off the outside corner. And it is 1-2 on Florimone. Nobody out, one in, one on. We're in the 8th inning. And there's a fly ball into right field that Stubbs will track. And Dozier will scoot back to first, one away.
You know, you're talking about last inning, Tom, about the draft and what clubs are looking for as the big, strong guy. You know, gone are the, 6-foot guys that maybe know how to pitch sometimes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I almost wonder now, and some might roll their eyes when you say this, but I really do. I really wonder now if a guy like Greg Maddux is going to be highly coveted coming out of high school, as he did in Las Vegas. He signed out of high school. If I'm not mistaken, he was a second-round pick by the Cubs. But, I mean, Maddux is throwing 91, 92 in high school. Not very big, certainly not muscular and thick, very thin coming out of high school. I almost wonder if a guy like that is now not slipping into the 7th, 8th, 10th, 15th, 20th round, whatever it might be.
Yeah, but I look at, you want to be a number one, but, to get drafted, no matter where you're at, if you have the determination and the desire and, you progressively get up, you'll make your money here, especially in today's game. So to be a bonus baby, that's nice, but your goal is to get to the big leagues.
Sure.
Doesn't matter. It shouldn't be about money. It should be about competition, about playing against the best in the world. There's been guys that are 50-round draft picks that make it to the big leagues.
Sure.
Other number ones don't make it. Shaw was a number 2 pick for the Diamondbacks in 2008 out of Long Beach State University.
Two and two to Thomas, and a throw will send the runner back to the bag. I don't think that runner over at first base in an 8-5 game with one out in the 8th inning is going anywhere.
I just think at Long Beach University, that's where Jason Giambi went, too. They produced some very good baseball players out of that university.
Still 2-2 on Thomas. Tried to come in a side gate and missed off the outside corner. 31 pitches in 5 plate appearances Thomas has seen in a game tonight. And another foul ball off out of place, so it'll be 32 pitches for Cleve Thomas.
And that's what you want your leadoff hitter to do. Get a lot of pitches, especially earlier in the ball game. Get to show your teammates what that pitcher has. Corey Kluber started the ball game for the Indians. Shaw, the 3rd different reliever used by Terry Francona.
3-2 pitch again. Well, if you're Terry Francona, you're ready to come out and choke Shaw. He comes into the game, gives up a home run. He's got a 3-run lead, and he has walked 2 batters since. And in fact,
well, here he comes. Get ready.
He may not do it publicly. But with a left-handed batting, Mauer coming up. They're going to bring on a left-hander from their bullpen. 8-5 ball game. Mauer coming up. We'll be back. was signed as a non-roster invitee back in February, added to their 40-man roster in mid-March. And boy, has he had a hard time finding outs of late. He was having a pretty good year for this team through the first month and a half of the season, but all of a sudden over his last 10 games, Rich Hill has pitched 5 2/3 innings, allowed 14 hits and 11 earned runs.
Well, 17 1/3 innings overall, 12 walks, 20 strikeouts. Hill has some major league experience with the Cubs, the Orioles, the Red Sox.
And he's facing Joe Mauer, of course, who in the opening inning of this game hit a long 2-run home run.
Off of Corey Kluber on the first pitch, gave the Twins an early 2-0 lead. And it doesn't matter if you're a righty or a lefty. Joe Mauer actually has better numbers against lefties than he does righties.
He looks at a breaking ball away. So Mauer represents a tying run here in the top of the 8th inning. 2 on, 1 out. And Hill delivers. And there's a fastball, a strike on the outside corner.
There are the numbers for Mauer. Just saw that. 368 against lefties. Hill with a fastball, slider, changeup.
Well, Terry Francona does not want to have this thing slip away. He has his closer. Of course, their regular closer, Chris Perez, is out with an injury. He's been getting kicked around in his rehab assignment. They were going to bring him up prior to the weekend, decided against that. As Hill gets ahead at 1 ball and 2 strikes, so they have now their current closer, Vinny Pastano, beginning to crank it up in the bullpen. They might bring him in for a 4-out save if Hill can get the out of Mauer right here and right now. Mauer waiting on the 1-2 pitch. And he strikes out looking on a fastball.
And Joe Mauer turning and asking John Hirschbeck, maybe he thought it was a little bit inside. But Hill comes in and picks up a big strikeout here with a couple runners on and 1 out.
So now the switch hitting Doman, who is 0 for 4 in the game. But Doman, 8 home runs, 35 runs batted in. We talked about all the RBIs he's had over the last couple of weeks. That's a nice first pitch breaking ball there, a strike. Twins 1 of 10 with runners in scoring position in the game tonight. 1 hit in this series with a runner in scoring position. And it's 0-2.
Big sweeping breaking ball there, right there by Hill. Looks like he took a little off this one and would end up going down and in.
Fastball up and away, 1 ball and 2 strikes to Doman, who is a tying run of the plate here in the 8th inning.
So I know you want to show him a fastball right there, but he took the first one for a strike, the curveball. Then he had a terrible swing at that one. Why don't you just come right back with it and throw it a little bit harder like you did that second one? Now he's trying fastballs rather than That's how you end up throwing too many pitches in a short amount of time. If a guy has a terrible swing at a curveball, keep throwing it. Now he's 2-2. Now he has to come in with a pitch. You don't want to go 3-2, let the runners start taking off with 2 outs. So this is a big pitch right here for Hill.
And he came with a breaking ball, and it's fouled off out of play down the first base line. And again, not a good-looking swing.
But it's a breaking ball that he left up. He got away with that one. Domet probably would like to have that again. He's going to hit that a little bit harder next time. But sometimes pitchers, they try to get too fancy. That ball left up, and Domet just fouling it off.
Two balls, 2 strikes on Domet. 2 on, 2 out. That was the pitch that he made him look bad on
That's
earlier.
the pitch he should have thrown after Domet saw that big curveball on the 0-2 pitch. So he wasted really 2 fastballs, and now it's 3-2. The runners are going to be moving. Now an extra base hit might get this game, by 1 run if a couple runs can score. Thomas, pretty good speed at first base. He'll get that head start.
It'll be the 7th pitch in the at-bat after Hill got ahead. No balls and 2 strikes. The okay's a sign with Santana, and here he comes. Swing and a miss. And that will do it. Finally gets him out on that breaking ball.
Thank you.
To the game brought to you by Burger King, where taste is king. It's been quite a night for Jason Kipnis, a 2-run double in the first inning. He had a single in the left field in the third, a triple down the right field line in the 4th inning, and then walked in the 5th. So here he is in what the Indians hope will be their final time to bat tonight, leading 8-5 in the bottom of the 8th inning. And Kipnis is a home run away of becoming the 8th Indians player ever to hit for the cycle in a single game.
Well, they'll have to do it against a left-hander, that being Caleb Thielbar, making an appearance. He worked last night. You see the numbers on Jason Kipnis. Thielbar in last night's ballgame, 16 pitches, 8 for strikes in a shutout inning. And he has been outstanding in that bullpen. Making
Presley,
his 12th relief appearance.
Sorry about that, Bert. Presley goes 3 after Swarzak gave him 3 1/3. Tell you what, those 2 guys did a nice job tonight. That's 6 1/3 innings tonight, and only 2 runs allowed by that duo from the Minnesota bullpen. We brought up earlier, you see these guys every day. It's a good group.
It is a good group out in that bullpen. They just don't want this to happen tomorrow,
Sure.
you know, because really Swarzak and Presley are two guys in that bullpen that can go multi-innings. And Gardy had to use both of them. Big breaking ball right there by Theobar.
2-2 on Kipnis.
We showed you the numbers on Theobar. 12 and 2/3 innings. This is his rookie season. He just got called up back in late May. Only 5 hits allowed, 6 walks, 12 strikeouts. Yet to give up a run.
Well, it won't be a hitting for the cycle night tonight unless the Indians really get it rolling here in the bottom of the 8th as Kipnis is out for the first time all night. Well, Detroit has already won tonight. Tigers hammered Boston a final count of 10-3. So if the Indians can hold on, they would stay 3 back. Minnesota would lose a game in the standing. Now you see the American League Central all the time. Let's start with Cleveland. Can this team hang in there with the Tigers moving forward the rest of the year?
I think they can if their starting pitching is good. You know, they're going to have to find a closer. I know that Pisano right now is the closer, but do they want Chris Perez back? That's up to the organization with the other stuff that is going to have to deal with. Offensively, pretty good hitting ball club.
There's a fly ball into right center by Brantley, and that's out number 2. Tonight's telecast, presented by Ace Hardware, is sponsored by Scott's, the official lawn care company of Major League Baseball. And by Chevrolet, find new roads. 2 up, 2 down here in the 8th. All right, so the closing situation.
I like Kansas City over Cleveland. I just think they have a better pitching staff, starting staff, than Cleveland. I look for Kansas City. I know George Brett has taken over as a hitting coach. There's kind of a new, better enthusiasm there. I think in the long run, if Kansas City, if their staff stays healthy, they went out and got some very good starters.
Boy, poor James Shields has won 2 games this year and an ERA right around 2.5.
Right. Definitely needs some run support. He needs to buy George Brett something.
Well, Kansas City lost earlier today 3-2. That's the kind of baseball games they play often. So Kansas City is now 4 games under 500, would slip to 6.5 back. Cleveland would remain 3 back if Pestano can come on and get the final 3 outs and nail down this 3-run lead. Deep left center field, but back to get it is Thomas. Our second 1-2-3 inning of the night. So Morneau to start the Minnesota ninth. Twins trail by 3. On in our game tonight, and now he's on trying to get the save, 2 of his last 2, pitching in his 22nd game, primarily in the setup role in front of Chris Perez, and that's Vinny Pestano.
Yeah, we talked to Vinny. You know, he's been a closer in college, also the minor league, 71 minor league saves, but now he's doing it in the big show, and he feels he can do it. He pitched in last night's ball game. He got the final 3 outs in the 9th inning against the Twins. A 1-2-3 inning through 11 pitches, 9 for strikes.
I think Rich Hill did a nice job. I mean, for a guy who's really been kicked around here of late, he came in facing the tying run, and it just happened to be Joe Mauer. Well, he struck him out looking. He got Ryan Doumit swinging and maintained the 3-run lead as we're underway in the top of the 9th inning. Morneau tonight, 1 of 4, singled back in the 3rd inning. Will be followed by Plouffe and then Arcia. Plouffe a couple of hits. Arcia's hit a home run. Minnesota needing base runners, trailing by 3 in the 9th. We brought it up earlier. It's going to be fascinating to watch. Of course, you know, you grow up in a town or you live in a town and you watch your local baseball team play all the time. And if you've been a Twins fan for a long, long time, you're so used to seeing Morneau in that lineup each and every day through the years. You know, come the trade deadline, will Ron Gardenhire still be writing his name in the lineup? A free agent at season's end. Grounded foul, where so much is dependent upon, you know, obviously first and foremost, where is your team? If you're in the hunt, you're not trading Justin Morneau. I mean, if you've got a legitimate chance, all of a sudden maybe some lightning in a bottle on this end and that end, and the starting pitching gets better, and all of a sudden you're 2 or 3 out, well, maybe you don't make the move. But you start slipping to 8, 10, 12 back, and you start saying, okay, you know, we're looking forward for the betterment of the future for this entire franchise.
For the organization. But you know what? On the positive side, Justin can still create some power. He's 32 years old. He's been in a Twins uniform his whole career. He signed by the Twins back in 1999. 11 seasons at this level. You want to see guys like him stay with an organization their whole career. As if he not get traded, he becomes a free agent. It's going to be up to him. Does he want to stay a Twin, or does he want to try somewhere else?
I've always thought it's not necessarily the toughest decision to go sign a player as a free agent from another team. I've always thought the toughest decision for a general manager is exactly the scenario that Morneau is in right now. Guy's been a great player for you for a long time. You start getting up a little bit in age, wear and tear of the 11, 12 years in your career, the emotional part of the fans wanting the guy back.
And how much value is out there.
Sure.
What can you get in return if that were to happen?
That ball is scalded into left center field, and this will be a double off the bat of Morneau to start the 9th inning.
Justin getting his second hit.
Well, again, next Saturday on Baseball Night in America, Chris Davis looks to continue his home run barrage. The Orioles will host Robinson Cano and the Yankees. Cincinnati will go to Texas to battle the Rangers in an interleague matchup. Or other regional action, Baseball Night in America, presented by Ace Hardware, begins next Saturday, 7 Eastern, only on Fox. So now Plouffe, 2 hits and an RBI tonight.
You know, just to finish up our thought on Justin Morneau, knowing Justin, he wants to stay in a Twins uniform. He loves living there, loves playing for the Twins.
In the air, right center field. Bourne drifting over to get it. And Morneau going to advance on to third. I'd like to remind you, you can tune in tomorrow on Fox Sports North, and you know who you can watch there tomorrow. Or Fox Sports Ohio for those of you in the Buckeye State. The finale of this series, coverage getting underway 12:30 Eastern for Fox Sports Ohio, 11:30 a.m. Central on Fox Sports North. You'll be back with your regular running mate tomorrow.
Dick
Mr.
Bramer and I will be doing the game tomorrow.
That'll be Matt Underwood and Rick Manning on Fox Sports Ohio.
Yes. Former teammate of mine, Rick Manning.
Good man.
Good center fielder, too.
Yep.
He ran down many of my mistakes. Some he couldn't catch up with.
1-0 pitch, and it's a foul. Hard hit ball by Arcia. Boy, you just watch this guy play one or two games, and you can understand why they're so excited about this guy.
Well, here's a guy in 5 minor league seasons in the Twins organization, a .314 minor league hitter. Got some pop in his bat, 53 home runs in the minor leagues, but I think this young man's just getting better and better. Only 22 years old.
You know, a lot of times it can be very misleading, especially for a Latin-born player. And I only bring that up because every one of those guys are signing when they're 16. Almost every one. So when you look at their minor league home run numbers, and Sammy Sosa comes to mind long before all the rumor of this or rumor of that, but a guy was never known as a power hitter. But when you're signing at 16, you weigh 150 pounds.
Right.
You know, Phil, for 3 or 4 or 5 years in the minor leagues, you're not going to hit very many home runs.
I think if Arcia can maintain this weight that he's at right now, 220, he's 6 foot tall, he's going to hit some home runs.
I'm with you. I'm with you. This guy's got a good-looking swing. Powerfully built young man. 3-2 the count. He reminds me body-wise, maybe a little shorter, but body-wise reminds me a lot of Carlos Gonzalez with Colorado. Stocky, strong.
Not afraid of the ball either. He will lean into that pitch.
Ground ball to short that'll play to run, but the Indians will trade that for the second out. That makes it 8-6. But Cleveland down to its final out of the game.
Yeah, that's all they want is outs right there. Arcia picking up his second RBI as Morneau scores. But the Twins down to their final out.
It's been a very, very good homestand for the Cleveland Indians. Of course, they've been good at home all year long. We've talked about that.
Yeah, well, win here this evening would make them 24-14, 10 games over 500 at home.
They took 2 of 3 from Texas, 2 of 3 from Washington, 2 of 3 from Kansas City. And a win tonight guarantees them a 4th consecutive series win.
Well, Parmelee's had 2 very good at-bats. In the 6th, a double, and then a leadoff home run in the 8th.
Our producer tonight is Carol Langley. Our director, Jonathan Evans. Our associate director is Brian Biederman. And our broadcast associate, Paul Marmaro. Thank our entire crew right here in Cleveland, Ohio. Always a pleasure to come up here and work with these folks. Nice people, do a great job, and we thank them for everything tonight.
This first time you and I have worked together, I've enjoyed it.
I've really enjoyed it.
Too many walks, but I've enjoyed it. Uh-oh.
This ball is hammered into right field, and all of a sudden it is a 1-run game on the long ball by Parmelee, who has homered in each of the last 2 innings. This guy had 5 home runs all year, and he's got 2 in back-to-back trips to the plate.
And again, Ron Gardenhire mentioning he wanted Parmelee to get some at-bats because he has not been able to play a lot. A double in the 6th, a home run in the 8th, and here with 2 outs in the top of the 9th. It's his 2nd home run of the game and his 7th of the season. So Pastano getting hit around a little bit here in the 9th inning.
Well, now all of a sudden you got a guy coming to the plate who's homered in 3 straight games. He doesn't have a hit tonight. He has walked twice, and that's Brian Dozier.
Not only 3 straight games, 4 home runs over the last 5 games.
These fans have seen nearly 4 hours of baseball here tonight. They're ready to celebrate a win and check out some fireworks after the game. But don't look now. The Twins are 1 crack of the bat away from forcing the Indians to bat in the bottom of the 9th inning. Two and one on Dozier. And Pastano to the plate. Swing and a miss.
Yeah, Dozier slipping a little bit right there. Looked like his right heel slipped when he took this mighty swing.
Josh Willingham has moved into the on-deck circle, getting another day off today. There's ball 3. Now, that was 10 minutes ago that Bert Blyleven said, you know, they got to figure out what they're going to do to this Indians team about getting the final 3 outs in a game. 3-2 to Dozier. And he has walked, which will give Willingham a chance to bat representing the go-ahead run.
And that'll bring out the pitching coach, Mickey Holloway.
Well, I know some of the quote-unquote, sabermetricians out there will make the argument that, or has been made anyway. I'm not suggesting everybody feels this way. The closer's role is just another job, and you can find somebody to do it. I know, Bert, I can just tell by your reaction right away where I'm going on this. There is no way I've ever been able to buy that argument.
There are some guys that are great 7th, 8th inning guys. You give them that closer role, and it's like their heart goes to another level of just they're not able to relax. One thing that for the Twins, Glenn Perkins been able to take that closer role into a very good season so far this year. He's accepted that role, and he's going to do a good job at it. There are some guys, Vinny Pastano has always been a good setup guy. Now all of a sudden, in his mind, the game is dependent on him. Rather just go out there and do what you did in the 7th and 8th inning, and that's what Perkins talked about.
And in reality, more times than not, when Pastano was coming into the 7th or 8th inning, they were far more trying circumstances than generally a closer will take over in the 9th. 1-1, the count on Willingham.
Well, Willingham coming up. He leads the Twins with home runs, with 10 of them. 0 for 1 as a pinch hitter this year.
His 30th pitch.
Two nasty pitches down and away.
Willingham hoping to get healthy again and start producing like he did a year ago for Minnesota. 1-2 pitch. Try that breaking ball once more.
Yeah, Willingham last year, 35 home runs. He drove in 110 runs.
Pitch number 32 of the 9th inning. 2 outs. And a foul ball to stay alive for Willingham. Tying one at first, lead one at the plate, 2 out. Ball 3.
Now that'll give Brian Dozier maybe a head start. I'm sure Francona's going to want to hold him on, which Reynolds does. And Santana's going to go out there and talk to his pitcher and see what they want to throw here.
Matt Albers cranking it up now in the bullpen. Vestano came on, allowed a single, got a fly ball that advanced a runner, a ground out, which brought in a run, but you had 2 outs, nobody on, and a 2-run lead. He then surrendered the home run to Parmalee, walked Dozier, and now has gone 3-2 on Willingham with a 1-run lead. And that will take care of Willingham and the Twins tonight.
Castano will get the save. It's not a pretty save, but he will get the save, and the Indians hold on and win this ball game.
8-7 the final. We'll be back to wrap things up from Cleveland right after these messages from your local Fox station.